Come on, man. No, man, come on. Why is it? Dang it. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm so sorry. For some reason, on my end, stuff wasn't working, but I guess we're here, so we might as well go on and get it started. So, ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome to the hottest show and all that go right here on YouTube and every podcasting platform. We apologize for the late start. We've had some stuff that was messing up, but now we're here, we're set, we're ready to go. And so we would like to welcome you to the hottest show in all the globe, the Welch Report, with me, Jean-Luc Watch. Make some noise, clap it up, get excited wherever you are. Again, I'm so sorry, I apologize. Some things were messing up. It looked like on my screen and to the viewers out in public that nothing was playing and everything was out of right, but everything should be okay. If you can hear me, please leave a thumbs up in the chat, comment, whatever the word you gotta do, get some stuff up to get us going. I'm trying to make sure that everything's all good. Are we good? And can you hear me? If we can, or if you can hear me, great, phenomenal. I don't know what was going on. Everything seemed to be out of whack and out of and awry, but now we're here, we're live, and we got a lot to talk about, mind you. My goodness, in the world of sports and beyond, specifically in the boxing ranks, we have a major problem and some very good performances out of a couple people, and the drama with the likes of Crawford and Spence not being a Hall of Famer in Terrence Crawford's eyes. And again, I was not expecting to start this late because I was expecting everything to work like it's supposed to. But since we're here, well, we might as well do what we do best. So ladies and gentlemen, hello and welcome. If you would, go ahead, leave a like on the stream right now. Comment your thoughts and opinions. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already, and join the Empire and help Ben and share the show with everybody that you know so we can keep on building up this empire of a community together. And we are indeed flourishing and growing, all thanks to you and your support. So we thank you so much. Oh, hold on, let me get the graphics on the thing. There we go. Yes, indeed. Looking like a professional program. Again, we started late. I am so sorry. I apologize. Stuff was messing up. I was sucking my teeth trying to make sure that this thing was working properly. I was frustrated. I was hot. Didn't know why stuff wasn't moving, why graphics weren't working. Shoot, looked like the stream wasn't going to work like it was supposed to. But hey, we're here. Seems like everything's all set. So we got to move. So we got to work. We got stuff to talk about. And since we are discussing I almost forgot, we're also available on every podcasting platform imaginable. So wherever you listen to podcasts, hey, Apple, Spotify, you name it, we're there. And if we're not, tell us. We will get there, absolutely. But with all that being said, we got a jam-packed episode for today, and we ain't got no time to wait. We're already starting late. We got sports to talk about. We got boxing cover. Since we got boxing cover, it is time to step into the ring. Where's that? Here we go. The ring. There we go. Let's get it started. Round one going underway of this show. Ring the bell. It's time to work. It's time to go. It's time to rumble. Yes, indeed. In the first segment of this show that we have to discuss, here's Zapeda versus Tavern Farmer. Oh, we're going to get to Errol Spence. Don't get it twisted. We're going to get into the drama that is, in fact, the mess that is with Errol Spence and the questioning of his resume, which I have some very strong opinions on. But again, that's neither here nor there. Regardless of which, we got to first talk about Zapeda versus Tavern Farmer in their very highly anticipated rematch from the first war that they went through. And some would argue this may be better than the first. This was all out, action-packed. Some people are calling it a robbery. Some people are saying it's the right decision. In my humble estimation, I feel that in this fight, I thought Zapeda did indeed win. Now, that what may ruffle some feathers, understandably so. This was an incredibly close and competitive affair. And like I had said, or like I put in the title of this segment, this was a fight of the year contender, a continuation, in my opinion, a better continuation, a more action-packed continuation of the first fight that they had. And this was incredibly, and I do mean incredibly, fiery, incredibly physical. Zapeda working the body all night long on Tavern Farmer. Thought the brother had him out. What was it? It was either second, third, or fifth round. One of those 3 rounds. I thought that Tavern Farmer was about to get put out because Zapeda had him on the ropes, ready to go, seemingly essentially shoving him all across the ring with all regard to essentially, in the night. And still he got up and continued not just to fight, but to have some moments of his own. And then in the second half of the fight, Farmer started turning it around, adapting, and indeed started turning the fight into his own favor. And in fact, at the end of the fight, round 12, that's when it was a situation where, brother, he was trying to go for broke. He was trying to end it. He was trying to get that win under his belt, and seemingly from the jaws of defeat, ripped this victory away from Zapeda. Now, in my opinion, it was close, incredibly close, but just fell short of the necessary work. And I felt Zapeda win because of the constant effort, the relentless pressure, and the consistent work to the body that Zapeda had all fight long. My gosh, you want to talk about an absolute workhorse. That is what Zapeda is. And I think Tavern Farmer, did he hurt his, was it his elbow or was it his wrist that we saw Zapeda potentially block and hurt, or Tavern Farmer throw a shot? Now, I can't remember exactly how Farmer got that injury on his hand, but it did indeed happen. And regardless of which, to be able to tough it out and to push through was indeed incredible. Oh, it was spectacular. It was phenomenal. Don't get it twisted. However, even with all that being the case, I felt that Farmer didn't lose this fight in a very close and competitive affair, no question. In my mind, I wouldn't call it a robbery. I would have called it an incredibly tough decision. Now, if that injury did not happen, and we didn't see Zapeda do the smart thing, as we saw, like the Teddy Atlas call out on his own podcast, and have to save himself for the second half of that fight. And if he wasn't injured in the midst of that whole brawl, then I think, we would have seen Tavern Farmer pull it out, and we would have seen Tavern Farmer win, because he was landing a more clean and effective punches, the more damaging uppercuts and hooks in the right hands, and the jabs, in terms of the more popping shots, the more oh my goodness type stuff, when he was coming off angle and throwing that hook, coming off angle and throwing that uppercut in the midst of Zepeda's combination, when he would bounce back, and when Zepeda seemingly had him very, very bad off, and especially in the last couple rounds of the fight. But outside of that, I think, again, it was too little too late. Again, I think because of impairments due to the injury. But if that did not happen, mark my words, I think it would be, he would have won. I wouldn't mind seeing this fight again happen in another rematch. I would not be mad at that at all. For me, absolutely no question about it. But regardless of which, this is still great day in the morning. You want to talk about a very intense affair that, again, I wouldn't call a robbery, but I would say that Zapeda won an incredibly close fight while he won. But I believe, was it majority or unanimous decision? I think it was unanimous decision. I could be wrong, and again, if I'm wrong, please correct me. But regardless of which, This was a fight that, hey, no fighter should feel bad. Everybody should hang their head up high. This was one of the better fights of this year. No question in my mind. It's going to be up to one of the fights of the year when it's all said and done at the end of 2026. And if the fights like this are just getting started for the first half of the year, oh my gosh, it looks like to be a very entertaining affair for the rest of 2025. And I can't wait for it. No question about it. And also, with that being the case, now this brings another question about the likes of Zepeda versus another very competitive and competent opponent who is at the heights of his boxing ability right now, which is Shakur Stevenson. Oh, yes, indeed. And now the technical savant versus the workhorse in Zapeda. That is going to be the fight that I believe was already in talks and happening with, and now looks to be that it's going to actually come to fruition. And this is a situation where I really don't feel that we can see Zapeda win, in my humble estimation. Now, that doesn't mean he can't happen, but I think that clearly, based off of this fight, based off of how Tevin Farmer was able to counter and catch Zapeda legitimately, even when Zapeda was overwhelming him with outright offense. If this same Zapeda came against Shakur, this is going to be, I think he gets beat. I think he gets beat outright. He gets beat outright. He genuinely gets outboxed and gets countered to Kingdom Come. There's too many holes in Zepeda's game against somebody as technically efficient and precise as Shakur. But if it does come down to the relentless pressure and can it win today, it can against Shakur if we see Shakur's hands not be able to hold up. Because that's the biggest thing that comes into question. Regardless of how we feel about how much of a talent Shakur is against Zapeda, it's still going to have to be Zapeda is going to overwhelm him and force him into a situation where he's going to have to fight. He's going to have to work. He's going to have to move. He's going to have to go through and indeed make himself become an aggressor in some way, shape, or form. And because that's the case, now that breeds into a bigger problem that we have with the world of boxing or the world of Zapeda versus Shakur in the realm of boxing, because now Shakur's boxing, while we know it can win today, it may not be the only thing that he can use to make sure he gets a victory from Zapeda. And he's going to have to fight. He's going to have to throw his hands. And with those hands, understanding the problems, understanding the issues, understanding the real discrepancies in terms of the amount of punishment that they have had over the course of his career, the consistency in their ability to get hurt, to get damaged, to even against Padley that we just had a couple months ago. Even when he was offensively minded and being aggressive, again, injured and hurt his hands. This is a perpetual problem. And against somebody like Zepeda, who is so offensively forward thinking and wants to relentlessly put his hands, get you to feel uncomfortable by always having something to worry about. Shakur is going to have to fight him off in some way, shape, or form. At some point, even with how fleet of foot, how much he can use the ropes, how much he can box around Zapeda all night long, no question about it. It's going to be at some point in time, you're going to have to fight him off. You're going to have to use your ability to be more offensive just to garner some space at some point in time. It's going to have to be. And because of that, it's going to be Shakur, can your hands hold up to that level of essentially self-inflicted punishment if it comes to that? That's where the concern lies. That's where the real question marks come into play. That's where we have to ask, are you really built to be able to do the things necessary? Though we know you are technically able to go and whitewash Zepeda, can you actively do it when the time comes? More so in the question of, can your hands hold up to that level of offensive punishment? When the pressure comes through, can your hands hold up to the necessary durability level to make it so that, okay, yeah, you can fight your way out of the rough and tumble nature and get back to boxing and pot shotting like we know you do best? Because if you do that, again, at your best, at your healthiest, yeah, sure, Of course, you clean house. You beat him clean and efficiently with no issue. But if you don't, that's where the problem lies. That's where the discrepancy comes to play. That's where the question marks come forth. So it's going to be interesting. The more we delve into this realm of 135 with these matches coming up, specifically with Zapeda versus the likes of Shakur, which looks to be, I believe, coming down the pipe, I think sooner rather than later. It's going to make a question. Shakur, we know you can beat him. But with the stylistic fighting nature of Zapeda, naturally it can breed you being at a real deficit. Not because you're hurt or you're going to get rocked. Oh, it's going to overwhelm you. But because can your hands hold up to that level of constant firepower? Because with that much offense coming at you, inevitably there's some danger that you can potentially punch wrong. Like we've seen before. Even when you punch right, it can still damage your hands. So it's more room for error on your part. Though we know what you can do offensively and defensively, more important. It can still be, hey, just that stylistic nature alone can be something to make it so that you are in trouble. Though we know you're better. It's going to be a real cool question. Going to be a real interesting question. The more we go through the whole ins and outs of the world of 135 and what's Zapeda versus the likes of Shakur Stevenson. But now we get into the meat and potatoes of the biggest thing that we want to discuss, which is Errol Spence Jr. versus the claims that he is not a Hall of Famer. And this is where stuff has been really in an uproar. My gosh, this is insane. This is ridiculous. This is preposterous. Also, Wardell, Jay Riggs, and others who are here, were here, and are coming back, or whatever the case may be. Appreciate you tuning in. Appreciate you coming forth. Again, we had a bunch of technical difficulties. We were trying to make this stuff work. I apologize if I've missed some of your chats, some of your listenings, or whatever you had to say. Please, I'm not trying to. I'm aiming to go through and talk and discuss and do with everything. We had some issues. Hey, we had some problems trying to make it work. I'm so sorry. But again, still, it is a highly aggressive topic because it is a claim made by Terrence Crawford that has everybody really questioning, wait, why would you say something like this? And is there any validity to this claim that the fact that Spence is not a Hall of Famer? That Spence is somebody that is worth being seen as one of the greats in boxing, especially of this era. And to me, all of a sudden, it's like, whoa, this is almost out of left field. It is almost, some would call it self-deprecating on the side of Terrence Crawford to even have some claims like this. And again, you've had others like Shakur Stevenson come through and say, yeah, I think that Errol Spence is a Hall of Famer. So it's a battle of two dichotomies or two thought processes in looking at the career of Errol Spence Jr. And it baffles my mind genuinely that we have this as a conversation when, mind you, we were looking at the likes of Errol Spence. Let's not forget what he was in the ramifications of the biggest of big dogs in the realm of boxing. At the height between, 2021 and 2023, shoot, within that 5-year stretch that Crawford and Spence were trying to chase each other. We can't just overlook what, in fact, Errol Spence had garnered in terms of resume, accomplishments, and justified reputation that caused him to be seen as one of the most polarizing figures in all of boxing. I mean, it was set in stone. It was set in stone. It shouldn't have been a real issue at all as to why this would even be a perceived question mark in the realm of Errol Spence. In fact, let me pull up the quote directly so I'm not misquoting anything. So I can make sure that everybody completely gets exactly what the context of this whole debacle truly is. I want to make sure I'm not misquoting Anybody. Here we go. I'll pull it up right now as we go into the whole picture-in-picture aspect of this show. And again, for those of you who are tuning in, thank you for tuning in and listening to the show. Again, we got a jet-packed episode for you today. We've covered Zapeda versus Tevin Farmer 2. We covered not Errol Spence. We're covering right now Errol Spence versus the likes of essentially claims that this brother is not a bona fide Hall of Famer, which to a degree still baffles my mind that this is indeed a question in it of itself. But let me pull up the quote for you right now so you can go and see exactly what we are discussing as we go to, no, not that, as we go to, here we go, as we go to picture and picture.
I can retire right now.
Quickly hit the, and make sure, hold on, here we go. Make sure the people can hear, make sure the people can see. Can y'all see it just fine? And for those of you who are listening, we're currently looking at the quotes of Terrence Crawford as he goes and talks about his claims for his opinion of Errol Spence Jr. not being a Hall of Famer.
Being a Hall of Fame. I can retire right now and be in the Hall of Fame. He couldn't. You know, like everything that I've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. You know.
Do you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Right now? No, how?
Yeah, he's right, dude. He's right.
How? You know, he fought in one division. You know,
he never unified the belts.
He unified.
He did unify.
You know,
IBF.
He unified.
WBA, was it?
He had three.
Yeah,
he had the
but
WBC,
he didn't unify all
WBA,
four. He wasn't
IBF.
undisputed.
Huh?
He wasn't undisputed.
He wasn't. No, but what I'm saying is, they already called him a weight bully, right? He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. You know, he beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
Like I said, you know what I mean? That's a good win. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him or, you know,
no, I understand
things like that. But I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got right now.
That's just, excuse me. Hold on a second. Wait 1 minute. I have. Huh?
Hey, look at this.
What?
We got some problems here.
Excuse me? You mean to tell me? How is it? Again, we respect Terrence Crawford. We love Terrence Crawford. We again, with the whole fight with Canelo trying to be great, absolutely. His resume and all that stuff is phenomenal. We get all that. We are still unbiased on this channel. We don't care who you are. If you say something that ain't right, it ain't right. And let me see, yo, Franklin Zana, how you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in. Who determines which boxers get in the Hall of Fame? And I believe there's a panel of official voters that vote on who gets in the Hall of Fame. And I don't know their exact criteria, but what I do know is that there is no question in my mind that this is just a stupid statement. This is a stupid claim. This is a ridiculous claim. What do you mean Errol Spence Jr. is not a Hall of Famer? And again, I'll play the whole clip in totality so you can get the full perspective on what, in fact, is being said. I don't want anything mixed construed. Again, that was on the Pound for Pound podcast with Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman to, again, UFC great, some of the greatest in their division and of the modern day era of the UFC and mixed martial arts. No question about it. We don't question their credentials as fighters, but in this capacity, this is stupid. This is ridiculous. What do you mean Errol Spence Jr. is in fact not a Hall of Famer based on the very things that they said in that clip? That is everything that you would want to be a Hall of Famer. And also, Jay Riggs almost missed your comment. Hey, yo, hey, Preacher Bud did exactly what you say when bringing down Spence's resume. But yet, that's Bud's best win. So how does that look for Bud? That is a perfect explanation. This is first. We'll break it down. We'll break it down statement by statement so we can get the full perspective on the issues at hand with this whole debacle. Because this is outright. I mean, this is stupid. This is genuinely. It's honestly, it's infuriating. Let me be perfectly frank. You mean to tell me, based on the claims that were made in this video.
Hall of Fame, he couldn't. I've accomplished. He's still trying to accomplish.
So what you've accomplished, he's still trying to accomplish. Again, I believe he's referring to being undisputed, which is a problem because even though you were undisputed, it is a phenomenal accomplishment. Again, it's incredible, especially in this 4-belt era. But that does not mean that being unified, getting 3 belts in the division, is not also an incredible accomplishment. Something that you also did on the road to being undisputed. And so, yes, you beat him for the belt, absolutely. And you got the title before him. Both of y'all were chasing the same thing. Both of y'all were on the same road for the same dream. Legitimately.
You know.
Do you not think Spence will be in the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, he's right, dude. He's right.
How? You know,
You would
like
be,
he fought in one division.
Hold on. Fighting in one division all of a sudden makes it so that you aren't privy to being in the Hall of Fame. Does that not disqualify heavyweights? Does that not disqualify heavyweights? I believe there were a couple fighters. I think unless I'm misthinking, Marvin Hagler, I believe, stayed at the same weight class just about his entire career. If I remember correctly, I don't think he moved up, and I think let me verify to make sure, but I believe Marvin Hagler stayed about in the same division for just about all of his career. Yeah, he was the middleweight undisputed champion, but he never left that weight class. I believe he stayed right there. Gennady Golovkin was a middleweight, always a middle. Yes, he fought Canelo at 168. Eventually, in their third fight for the majority of his career, he was a middleweight. Just about all. He reigned over one division. Archer better be up light heavyweight this entire time. Bivol leave light heavyweight this entire time. There's plenty of all-time great fighters that did not move up, and yet still they are Hall of Famers. And again, heavyweights, what do you mean that they are not Hall of Famers if in fact they stayed at one division? I don't get that. Logic is flawed and outright wrong. That is ridiculous. That does not make sense. There's been too many people that have done the very things that you say should not qualify you to be Hall of Famers, and yet they are Hall of Famers. Again, that should disqualify any heavyweight. That should disqualify Marvin Hagler. That should disqualify Gennady Golovkin, who stayed and reigned at 160. Again, he fought Canelo, I believe, at 168 in their last fight, but that's it. There is too many examples that this is a mute point. This is a ridiculous point. This is a stupid point. And again, I'm not trying to be disrespectful. We gotta call it down the middle, don't we? We can't let stuff like this fly and discrediting the resume of somebody who is indeed actually great. Like we just can't do it.
You know,
never unified the belts.
And this. What do you mean, Henry Cejudo? But you've been in the UFC and you've seen people unify in your own or become champion in two divisions, which is great. You have had boxers on your show that have unified the belts. And falsely claiming that, again, Kamaru Usman, again, it corrected him afterwards. But you've had people that have unified the belts. What do you mean that, one, you don't got your facts straight, and then two, that is another discrediting point?
He unified.
He did unify.
You know,
IBF.
He unified.
WBA, was it?
He
Three
had
belts.
Yeah, the
but he
WBC.
didn't unify
He got-
all four.
WBA.
He got 3 of the
undisputed.
4. And now you're holding undisputed as a means against him. There's a bunch of champions that ain't become a Floyd. Where is that? Let me put myself on a big cam so I can make sure that I'm seeing. Floyd Mayweather never became an undisputed champion. And now this is something that is held against Errol Spence Jr. for why he should not be in the Hall of Fame, because he did not become undisputed. Tyson Fury never became undisputed. AJ never became undisputed. There are a plethora, a tank. Ain't even unified. Never. So by this same criteria, there is only a select few that would get into the Hall of Fame today. And dare I say all time. This is a preposterous sentiment that can easily be disproved. But why is this something that is coming up? Especially for somebody who, again, like Jay Riggs said, was one of your most accomplished wins. It doesn't make sense to me in the slight. But again, let's continue. Let's not jump the gun. Let's keep on going through and dissecting exactly why this is wrong.
Huh?
He wasn't undisputed.
He wasn't. No, but what I'm saying is they already called him a way bully, right? He beat Kell Brook coming off of a loss, an eye injury. You know, he beat Sean Porter.
In all fairness, he had to go over there to get that.
Terrence Crawford. Terrence. You beat Kell Brook after Errol Spence beat Kell Brook. You beat Kell Brook after Errol Spence beat Kell Brook. Errol Spence, there's an argument, beat a less damaged version of Kell Brook than you did when you fought. And again, we respect him. Absolutely, no question. Great win on both sides. I've already in the past gone against the notion that Kell Brook was a bad win when we were leading up to the whole saga of Errol Spence versus Crawford at that point in time, when I was discussing and defending why that was indeed an incredible win for both fronts. We marvel at how Errol Spence was able to break down and destroy Kell Brook round after round and round, and then how Terrence Crawford was able to knock him out within, I believe, 4 rounds. With one shot that didn't even look like it was as much power at all. Incredible. Phenomenal. Yet, now you're holding that against him. I'm telling you, it baffles my mind, and it doesn't make, logically, it doesn't make any sense why you are tearing down the career of somebody, again, that you did beat, that we hold is one of the reasons why you are in the pound-for-pound position that you are.
Like I said, you know what I mean? That's a good win. Like, I don't want to sound like I'm hating on him or, you know,
No, I understand
things
what you're
like
saying.
that. But
Right.
I honestly don't know if he make it to the Hall of Fame with the accolades that he didn't got right now.
That is one of the more.
I can retire.
Listen, hold on. Let me make sure we ain't got nothing else playing. And again, this is all rights to pound for pound show with Henry Cejudo and Kamaru Usman. Again, this is not my footage, not my stuff, none of that, just to make sure. But regardless of which, this is one of the more stupid statements I have ever heard. You are holding not getting undisputed against him. You are holding, to say that Errol Spence is not a Hall of Famer because of he didn't become undisputed, because he unified the belts but didn't become undisputed on that journey, because he was a quote-unquote weight bully, and because his wins aren't really all that spectacular in your eyes, and because he was indeed only relegated to one weight class that he was in, that holds him back from being able to be in Hall of Fame credentials. It is stupid beyond compare. I don't care if it's Terrence Crawford that said this or not. This is stupid beyond compare. And again, Al Booger, good to see you. Hello and welcome to the show. Again, we're sorry. We're starting late. Had some issues with the stream. Stuff wasn't working properly, and so I was having some trouble when I started this thing, getting it up. He had some trouble earlier, 12 o'clock. around 12:30, we wanted to get the show off initially. But again, we're here now. We're going to give you the best that we got regardless of which. Now we're at the meat and potatoes of the show, talking about Crawford saying Errol Spence is not indeed a Hall of Famer, which is one of the dumbest statements I have heard, genuinely. And again, Franklin's Honor, what you got to say? This is one of those things that holds boxing back. Boxers don't view themselves as being the best representatives of their sport. Notice how other sports will build each other up. And again, that is, it's a true statement, but it's also, the other sports have their own problems as well, like with basketball, like we've seen already with how that sport's been marketed and built up even by some of its own athletes. Every sport has their own issues, so I'm not going to speak on that perspective. But what I will say is that in this vein, this is a very bad instance of, again, seemingly somebody trying to build up themselves by pushing down somebody else, which, like you said in your comment, is indeed a problem. We've seen many countless times of other boxers building other people up. We've seen that, absolutely. But the thing that goes out and about that everybody pays attention to are these type of situations. Genuine. And it's different when it's like competitive nature. I'll beat him. He's not as good as y'all say he is, but he's still good. We've heard that rhetoric. But this is different. This is blatant. This is blatantly wrong. I don't think. I don't think Errol has Hall of Fame credentials, but I'm not a voter. Doesn't matter what I think. Well, I mean, it does matter what you think. Absolutely, your opinion is valuable. But I don't see how you don't feel that it's Hall of Fame. I also don't judge. I also don't think Bud was hating. He's just giving his 2 cents and gave some reasonable points. I'm not saying that Bud is hating on him. This is his genuine opinion. Absolutely. Again, even when he was, you remember that whole thing when there was when before the fight, they both rated each other's skills, and it was Spence who was really disrespectful to Crawford in terms of the ratings of his skills from, what was it, 1 to 10? And they gave him most of the part 6 to 7s, and Crawford was giving, for the most part, Terrence's skill set 9 to 10s. And it was like Crawford was giving him the respect of how he felt he was as a boxer at that point in time. And it was like, yeah, Crawford's got it right for how Spence is. And then Spence was completely, and people said that was hating. The way Spence was rating the likes of Crawford and all of his abilities. And see, you remember that was funny. Everybody was talking. It was like, oh my gosh, what the world? And so, even if it wasn't meant in disrespect, and it's his genuine 2 cents, this is based on what we have seen Errol Spence accomplish. This is, in my opinion, disrespectful. Because you have to understand, Hagler, I believe, stayed, like I said before, multiple times, stayed at 160, middleweight, undisputed, ranked. Golovkin, nearly his entire career, was at 160 and ranked. Heavyweight, right now, by Terrence Crawford's own credentials, outside of Usyk and Evander Holyfield, there ain't many people that should be in the Hall of Fame from the heavyweight division because they only reigned in one division. That completely annexes nearly half, or no, the majority of heavyweights that we've seen in boxing history, especially today. That would mean Tyson Fury shouldn't be a Hall of Fame. That would mean that AJ shouldn't be a Hall of Fame. And anybody coming up, let's say Moses Atuma, gains 3 of the 4 belts, goes on a run with some of the best in the division, beats them all, and just doesn't become undisputed, but still does all of that great stuff. He isn't a Hall of Famer. That's the slippery slope that this breeds you. And that's a problem. And he holds undisputed, or in that conversation, they were holding undisputed as a reason for why Errol Spence shouldn't be there, because I became undisputed. You didn't. That's a mega accomplishment that you never got to do. Though, like I said before, both of you all were both on the same track to get there. And if we're being completely honest, most of the people that Spence beat, he beat before Crawford beat. He beats Porter before Crawford beat Porter. He beat Kell Brook before Crawford beat Kell Brook. healthier, more in prime version of a lot of the fighters that we see Crawford face. If you want to get technical, he faced before them and still had dominating performance. I don't understand this level of genuine career. Like for me, this is career disrespect because it really speaks to Errol Spence didn't do anything in his career. And that's a both-faced fight. The man was pound for pound for years, understandably so, for good reason. The brother was many people consider him the best welterweight in the world. And he had proven it both before and after the car crash. We were calling him one of the most destructive body snatchers that boxing had in today's era. Too strong for everybody, too tough for anybody, and will break you down and break you apart. That was his main game, and he did it against he did it against everybody he put him up against. Chris Algieri, Kell Brook, Lamont Peterson, Carlos Ocampo, Mikey Garcia, though Mikey Garcia got brought up from a more smaller weight class, understandable. Still, Mikey was incredibly tough and was seen as, hey, potentially could give a run, though he was smaller, absolutely, and he beat him. Beat him easy. Sean Porter beat him, knocked him down, and one of the best fights of the year at that point in time. And Sean Porter, again, was a dog and is a dog because he's fought everybody. He fought a prime Errol Spence. I believe that was before the car crash. I believe. Again, I could be wrong, but I believe that was before the car crash. Then afterwards, after the car crash, his first fight back is Danny Garcia, who at that point in time was a lethal counterpuncher. 36 wins on his resume. 1 or 2 losses. Generally one of the biggest threats in the entirety of the division. Had power, had timing, and had toughness, and had stamina. And you beat him. Unanimous. You completely washed him. And it was, yes, Errol Spence is back like he never left. You didn't go and beat Ugas after he beat Pacquiao in Pacquiao's last fight. And Ugas, again, Cuban fighter, can be slick, but is a body snatcher, is incredibly tough, again, has stamina. And it was a real competitive fighter. It's still a real competitive fighter, though he ain't been in the ring in a while. And you know why he hasn't been in the ring in a while? Because Spence beat him so bad that he put him out the ring. And that fight was in 2022. It's 2025 right now, and Ugas still has not came back in the ring since that beating that he got against Errol Spence, where Errol Spence stopped. Face swollen, bloody, and everything. Errol Spence got his mouthpiece knocked out. Everybody was saying, oh my gosh, is he going to be okay? Oh, see, these are the cracks from the crash. He then proceeds to go and snatch the soul of Ugas, ripping him and beating Ugas at Ugas' own game. Showing the demonstrative nature that we know Errol Spence has, and cleans him out. Got to go to the hospital and all that. That's what he did to Ugas. And we were saying, my gosh, this man is incredible. And then you lose to Terrence Crawford in a one-sided victory. That is not a career that you can say, oh, it's just it's not worth it. That's stupid. He got 3 of the 4 belts in the division. He faced off against most of the best fighters in that division. Outright. And he accomplished everything necessary to be on not only pound for pound list, but the only viable threat in the division for the likes of Terrence Crawford. And it proved it time and time again. And now you're saying that's not great. That is, Terrence Crawford, that is your best win. That's your best win in your entire career. And you've had great wins. That is your best win in your entire career. The very reason why you are getting this fight with Canelo is off the backs of that win that you got with Errol Spence Jr. because of how dominating that was and against who it was. That win was incredible because of the resume and the legitimate accomplishments that we had seen Errol Spence have over the course of his entire career that made him seem so unbeatable and unstoppable. And you, again, did exactly what we want to see you do, which is dominate. But you can't do that. You're discrediting you are discrediting on your own career. You're making your own best win seem obsolete. You're making your best win. You're making you by this degree, you're making your career seem soft. Because if you are struggling to say that Sean Porter was a good win, if you are saying that Kell Brook wasn't really as great of a win as you're saying it was, you are then discrediting two of some of the best wins that you've had in your career and further pushing them down as not worth the time of the public's opinion. That's what you're doing. That's a problem because that's just not true. That's just not true in the slightest. And you know it. You are in the position you are in now as viewed as a monster by the public, by the wider public, because of what you did to Errol Spence Jr. Because Spence, regardless of whether you love him or hate him, whether you were a fan or you wanted to see him get beat, we all understood he was the truth. No question. His career should be Hall of Fame level. You can argue first ballot or not, but like I strongly feel that career is Hall of Fame level. And there's no question in my mind. He is one of the best welterweights of this era in boxing. He is one of the most dominant welterweights in this era of boxing. By only conquering one era at welterweight, which was when everybody was there, incredibly deep. He was the king of everybody, perceived to be the king. It was him and Terrence, and that was it, because they had already conquered everybody else that was seen as credible, legitimate, talented, and worthy to be seen as, oh yeah, that's a quality victory. That is a good notch in your belt. You can't. You're shooting your own career in the foot. You're shooting your own legacy for no good reason by disrespecting somebody else's that indeed was worth the time, worth the effort, worth the energy, worth the road. It was, and so that's like it's preposterous. Spence beat the 3 of the 4 belts that Spence got, he beat every champion one by one by one. I believe. I'm not discrediting how Crawford got the undisputed titles. No, he got them. And he retained his own. His side of the street, Spence's side of the street, that old saga that was going on. Absolutely. But you can't, don't discredit, when we knew what the welterweight division was at that point in time, how Spence went about going and getting the belts. It's impressive. It's everything that we wanted in a boxer to do. Go and beat every single person. Get your reps. And so it's like, it really feels ridiculous that there's even a statement to come out of the likes of Crawford. Because for the casual audience, and even for Crawford haters, Crawford's win against Spence, because of who Spence had shown himself truthfully to be, is the very reason why you got to the level of stardom and respect that you are at right now. That's the truth. And it's not just because of the name power. It's because the brother is real. The brother's real. And so it should have been no qualms, no issue, no problem whatsoever. So it's again, Terrence Crawford, this was a stupid statement. This was a stupid, in my estimation, a stupid claim and a ridiculous sentiment to discredit somebody that is indeed great, should indeed be respected, is indeed a Hall of Famer. First ballot or not, you can have that conversation later. Is he a Hall of Famer? No question in my mind. None whatsoever. Let's see, there's plenty of NBA players that made multiple All-Star teams but didn't make Hall of Fame. I think Errol is in that class of boxer. I wouldn't be mad if he made it. Again, I get you. I get you. We've had 3-time All-Stars that don't do that, or 3-4-time All-Stars that don't get into the Hall of Fame. Understand it. That and this, I think, aren't the same level of comparison, because you can make an all-star team playing great for half the season and then be a bum for the rest of the year, but you still made the All-Star team. You just drastically played under your level. You can't, with a championship, like you win it. Yeah, sometimes you're given to it by the commission in specific situations, like we've seen with Devin Haney, Tank, and others. But you, in most, and Boots Ennis, but you win it. Most of the time, you win it. You beat the brother that beat somebody else that has the belt. Like, period. There's no, whether you want to call it a fluke performance or not, in the fullness of the performance, you did it. And so that's why I'm thinking, I would disagree with that for my, as a sentiment for me, more specifically. But again, I really don't think that this is a conversation that even should be had, because it seems to be a very well understood situation. That yeah, he should be seen as a Hall of Famer. It's an unfair question, but if Boots beats Montes and then Barrios and retires, is he a Hall of Famer? That is a very good question. Hold on, wait, excuse me. My apologies. Wait a second. I'll answer that question right afterwards. Excuse me, E.T. Yo, what's going on with you? How you doing? E.T. slash or E.T. hashtag quadruple P. What's good with you? How you doing? What do you mean Pacquiao and Amir Khan are fighting? Wait 1 second. Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait. Whoa. Hold on. Excuse me. I'm sorry. What do you mean Amir Khan and Pacquiao are fighting? What do you mean Amir Khan is a back? What do you mean he's back? What do you mean Pacquiao's back? Wait a second. Can you elaborate? Let me look that up. Hold on. Wait a second. No, we still got a lot of cover on the show. No question about it. I still would love to hear your thoughts on the world of this whole Spence Crawford saga. Absolutely. But this is what? Hold on. Wait a minute. Wait a second. Why? What do you mean he's back? He's been. Tell me this is a lie. I know it's April Fool's. I hope I ain't being fooled right now. If I'm being fooled, shoot. If I'm being fooled, I might look like a bump. I might just look ridiculous. It couldn't genuinely be an April Fool's joke. Well, shoot. Well, I don't know what the world this is. Apparently he's calling him out. I don't know if this is real or not. Genuine. I think this is a farce. I think this is fake. I hope this is April Fool's. Let's be perfectly honest. I hope this is an April Fool's joke, because friend, those of you just know, he just got privy to the fact that Amir Khan has now called out the likes of Manny Pacquiao to fight in August. I think this is a joke. I think. We'll wait. I think it's a joke. If it's not a joke, my gosh, it's shoot. Like, if this ain't a joke, I'd be interested. I can't lie. I would be interested to see how that would fare. I don't know if I can't remember if Amir Khan got out of shape or not. If this is the case and he's trying to get back in shape to fight, shoot. If this is a joke, well, you got us all. And so my goodness, my apologies. We all are looking like a bunch of fools. And my gosh, we all got to take it for a ride, because it is April Fool's Day. So be careful what you're seeing, because everything ain't as what it seems. In the words of, if anybody watched Witches at Waverly Place, if everything is not what it seems today, and today only, as of right now. So, but we'll keep an eye on it if that indeed does happen. If it does happen, I mean, shoot, Pacquiao's been looking for has had the bug to get back into the ring for a while now. I wouldn't be surprised if, even if this was fake, he would try to make it happen just because the brother wants to fight. I'm so serious. But let's see what people have to say. Yo, Sergey, what's going on with you? How you doing? What's up? with you. Oh shoot, I'm admiring the Adriatic Sea. Well, my goodness, I'm glad you're listening to us sailing across the lands, a modern day pirate if you are. And hey, enjoy yourself, be safe out on the waters, and hey, take some time, whoever's around you, invite them to hear what we got going on, because I guarantee you everybody's going to want to hear, whether you're on land or sea or even in the air, what goes on right here on Watch What, the hottest show in all of the globe. Absolutely, we appreciate your time, appreciate your energy, no question. But we still got more stuff to cover on this show. And again, I would love to hear your opinions and thoughts on this whole debacle with Crawford saying that Spence isn't a Hall of Famer. I wholeheartedly disagree. I strongly feel that this is a sentiment that everybody understood Spence should be and will be a Hall of Famer. I strongly feel that with the resume that Spence has put up at welterweight, with how deep it was at that point in time, with him reigning at the top, being pound for pound, being unified, and going and getting every belt individually, having an all-time great war with Shawn Porter, going and beating Kell Brook, I believe breaking his eye also, or orbital bone in that fight, going and beating Ugas, stopping him at his own game, and then proceeding to put him out of action still to this day. He hasn't gotten back in the ring since. Chris Algieri and others, all a litany of bodies and legitimate quality names. Though he didn't get undisputed, we have never held that as the only criteria for why you can get or not get into the Hall of Fame. Though he's been only in one weight class, we have never held that as a criteria for why somebody can and can't get into the Hall of Fame. Because there's plenty of Hall of Famers, some of which have less of a resume than the likes of Spence, and they are in the Hall of Fame. There's plenty of Hall of Famers who have stayed in just one weight class, and they are solidified as in the Hall of Fame. Heavyweights, by this metric, would then be banned from a Hall of Fame criteria, and that is wrong. George Foreman, Ali, Liston, Floyd Patterson, all these names, Joe Frazier, all of them would not be Hall of Famers because they stayed in one weight class. Tyson Fury right now, because he never became undisputed, would not be a Hall of Famer. Deontay Wilder would not be a Hall of Famer if we want to go by these metrics. This is in my opinion, this is not a right sentiment, especially for somebody who proved how great he was by beating another all-time great in Errol Spence Jr., which we all agreed he's an all-time great in this era of boxing. No question. We all conceded it. We all validated that with how we reacted when he dominated Spence. It was one of the greatest things we had ever seen from a one-side domination. Like with Foreman and Frazier. What made both of those performances great was because it was against another bona fide Hall of Famer who was at the top of their game, who was also seen as one of the baddest people in the division. Bar none. This is a very bad sentiment that will get the likes of Crawford most likely a lot of flack. And bigger than that, it shines a negative spotlight on his own resume that he accomplished. Because some of those same names that he said weren't great were the same names that we saw Crawford beat in his own career on his path to Errol Spence. And so I really can't stand and say that is valid. That's got any basis in truth. Because it doesn't. I know it doesn't. There's no way that we won't see Spence in the Hall. There is no way that we won't see Spence in the Hall of Fame. We say Shawn Porter's one of the best of this generation. A two-time champion. I believe a two-division champion, maybe. I believe. This is a two-time two-division. He got it twice. Won it twice. And at welterweight was a warrior, a dog. And was always on this very, amongst us, in this very chat. We've said that Porter has the best resume out of everybody because he fought everybody. The brother was a dog and is going to be a Hall of Famer. Spence has a better qualitative resume to put him in the Hall of Fame than Porter, because he was better and greater. That's not me trying to say that Porter was a bum. No, both of them are great. It's just like, we can't say Porter is a Hall of Famer and then not say that Spence is also not even more locked for a Hall of Fame position. We can't, because we know how their careers panned out. Both of them were great. One was more accomplished than the other. Spence was more accomplished than Sean Porter. Spence beat Porter on, as well as a bunch of other good names in the division. I don't see how he wouldn't be a Hall of Fame, at least in my humble estimation. So, yeah. Let's see. Is Gabe Rosario a Hall of Famer in your eyes? Let me see. Let me go back, and off the top of my head, don't have his resume memorized like other people, but let me go and shoot. I ain't got no problem looking up to go and see. Do a real quick check, to go and check out how he panned out, what he accomplished, what he was able to do. Gosh, come on now. Come on. Doggone, this thing's moving slow. This thing is, this thing moving incredibly slow. Hold on. I'm so sorry. Again, off the top of my head, I don't have Gabe Rosario's resume as memorized, so I don't want to misspeak if I say he is or is not. And so I got to go check it out real quick. If I can't find it here, I'll come back to this question later on, probably on Thursday, and answer it again. Because we're probably going to have some more people. We'll probably have this whole thing fixed. We'll be able to start on time. Because plenty of people that want to have this discussion that ain't here. Because, we couldn't start when we wanted to start because stuff was all getting awry. But, give me one. How's this thing moving so? This thing is moving slow. I'm trying to get his resume pulled up because, again, I don't have it off the top of my head, so I can't say for certain. But, again, I'll look it up later on and go and further delve into what his career was. And so, excuse me, apologies, because I don't have it on hand in terms of knowledge-based concretely, is he or is he not? So I'm not as familiar. So apologies with that. I will look it up. I will find out, no question. But we do have to keep this show going. So we'll go through and talk about it later on. But again, with more stuff on the show, we do have to discuss another thing, which is other fights happening this weekend. And we would be remiss if we didn't go and discuss these things. Like with Brian Norman Jr. going up and KOing Chubis in a very good, dominant display that ended in a fantastic KO. And now with Brian Norman Jr., this answered a lot of questions when it comes to him and his competitive nature at the welterweight division, and looking at him against one of the bigger bigger threats in the division, which is Boots Ennis. This is now like, hey, this was a real coming out party for whether or not you can compete against what is seen as the baddest man in the land in Boots, if you're Brian Norman Jr. And now, with this one, I'd say this answers some good questions for me. But his left hook is devastating. His ability to set traps is indeed phenomenal. His aggression and power is real. And Chubis being, Chavez being a quality win and a tough brother that he was able to legitimately KO and put out, stun multiple times, rock multiple times, and have the ability to go through and like clean him out. Yo, for me, hey, that's impressive. Hey, give credit where credit is due. And now, ramping up, this is now the time for him to get with the biggest of big dogs in the division. I would love to see him against Boots. Now, did this validate that he can compete on the same level as Boots Ennis at this stage in terms of can he beat him? this is a good question. With him KOing Chavez, could he beat Boots Ennis if they ever fought against each other? Now that it is more clear than ever that there is a pathway in a competitive nature that this fight can, in so much form, should be made. And I would say he can, but he won't. It's a fight that needs to happen. It's a fight that can happen. And he's got the pop to beat him. But I don't think he'll be able to beat him. Now, why do I say that he's got the pop to beat him and that there's a possibility? Well, it's beyond just a puncher's chance, but it's because of Boots' defense that makes him susceptible to a lot of stuff when it comes to more powerful fighters. And though under normal circumstances, I would say that Brian Norman versus Boots would be something that, yeah, it would. We know what would happen. Now it's not as clear cut because what we've seen with David Avanesian, what we've seen with Shakur, and over the course of other points in Boots' career, his willingness to rely on his chin and instincts rather than the fundamental aspect of defense and boxing. It's caused for him to get a lot more punishment than he should be getting in a lot of his fights. We talked about it with David Avanesian. When David Avanesian, yes, he landed only slightly more than Crawford in his fight with Crawford. Got tongue-tied. He landed only slightly more shots against Boots than he did against Crawford in terms of David Avanesian. However, the quality of shots that was being landed on Boots was a lot more visceral and a lot more eye-catching, a lot more powerful than it was on the side of Terrence Crawford. It wasn't the amount, it was the quality. The quality of shots that Avanesian was landing. Shakur, in their second fight, he already got frustrated with Shakur the first time round when he was outboxing. Now when Shakur was willing to stand in the pocket, counter and trade in range, Boots was getting lit up. He was. He won. Absolutely. But he was getting lit up with a lot of concerning shots where if Shakur had some legitimate pop to his game, this could have been a very bad night for the likes of Boots Ennis. Genuine. Oh, yes, it could have. Now going up against Brian Norman Jr., who is, in my opinion, better than Shakur, who's got well more power than Avanesian or the likes of Shakur combined. It's strong, got some pop, got some explosiveness, and has some durability to be able to take punishment that we would see Boots give. Though he's not as technically proficient, though, again, setting traps and IQ-wise, yeah, good. It would be this would be a situation where if there was any moment in time to have Boots question as a fighter in terms of what are your skills really, not just skills in terms of raw talent, but skills in the framework of actual fundamental technical ability. Are you a fighter that indeed, like with others, fights up to the level of your opponent? Or are you a fighter that what you've seen is actually what you get? You are flashy. You are fun to watch. You are somebody who is, again, one of the most gifted fighters in all of boxing from a physical perspective. Your tools, you have it all. Your power, you got it. Speed. You've even shown you've got a good chin. But all of that isn't refined to where it should be. And the laxness in your defense is not just a one-off or two-off type situation. It is a real consistent problem. This would be the fight and the fighter to put that to the test and to really shock the system of the building world of Boots Ennis. What we know we can accomplish, sure. We'd love to see him at 154. We'd love to see him against Virgil Ortiz and others. Absolutely. But even as the best fighter at 147, which I, again, believe he is, it's still like you got some stuff you got to show from a fundamental aspect, not just from a outright raw talent of people. You've shown so many tools that you can use, and we love it. But now it's time to refine the skill sets of how you use those tools. Like you said, The show defense, like we talked about with Jared Anderson and with Boots. The willingness to rely on your chin. The almost annoyed nature that you can get with when you go and say, you should already be taken out. You can't have that. You can't have that against Brian Norman. If you do ever fight him, or if he ever fights you, whichever the road may be, whoever leads the charge to get to one or the other, it's got to be, this is going to be probably one of your biggest litmus tests to prove if you are indeed what we think you are. Beyond just the hype of the flash and the legitimate raw nature of your talent, which is all real. You keep up this same level of lax defensive preparation against the likes of Brian Norman. All this could come crashing down in a heartbeat. Genuine. It can't. Do I think Boots would beat him? Absolutely. But this is not just some foregone conclusion. I'm not worried about seeing him struggle and still succeed. I ain't worried about this brother genuinely losing. Because of the fact that while as a talent, Brian Norman ain't on the same level of Boots. When it comes to what Brian Norman has that can put Boots on the back burner and really set that brother up for failure. He's got everything that you would need. He does. It's just a matter of how will Boots show through. So do I think Boots would win? Absolutely. Is it more than a puncher's chance that Brian Norman's got if he fights against Boots? No question about it. No question in my mind. This is not me trying to hate, but it's the reality of the situation. There is some real concern. There is genuinely some concern. And so we have to wait and see exactly how that will go as it pans out. But either way, good win for Brian Norman. Speaks to more questions with him versus Boots. Answers some things, absolutely. But still has us saying, though we know what most likely would happen, concern. There is some concern. And Boots better not take this brother lightly if they ever step in the ring with each other. Better not take it lightly in the slightest. And he already said he wanted to fight and unify belts. It's got a belt. Unify, let's make it happen. It's going to be one of your litmus tests. Let's see what you can do. But also, with this show, we got to cover, I think with the word one more fight that we got to cover before we go into the championship rounds. We got Boots. Not Boots. Excuse me. I'm getting tongue-tied. We got Shakur Carrington. Hey. Oh. Shoo. Yes, indeed. Had another breakout performance with this KO win over this past weekend also. And he was, again, looking like a KO'd Vivas in a phenomenal performance. Great win. And now we got to call out all the names in the featherweight division. Nick Ball, Fulton, Angelo Lee, Espinoza. Well, many people say, who's saying, yeah, I'll chop down that tree. And this is what we want from our fighters, from our boxers. Genuinely put some names out and get the ball rolling on the public putting pressure. It is different when you are the big time star and you, boom, can't, like Canelo always says, you can do what you want. Sure. But when you're a young fighter, especially somebody coming up, and with any fighter, even those that are established, if you want to get not just big money, but also big fights on a consistent basis, the best way to do it is to get and to essentially hit the hornet's nest. Call out everybody. Make it known that you indeed want the smoke with everybody who is in your vicinity. Make it known that you want to get in the midst of trouble with everybody that wants some work. And he did it. Called out Nick Ball after he just knocked out Doheny. Called out Espinoza, who, again, is one of the more towering forces in the division, literally with his height. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, y'all think he's too big? No, I'll chop him down easy. I'll chop him down like a tree. He called out Stephen Fulton, who just had a great performance against the likes of Figueroa. I would love to see that fight, Fulton versus Shakur Carrington. That would be, I would love to see that fight go through. No question, mama, that would be great. That would be phenomenal. That would be incredible. That would be one of my favorite fights of the year if that does in fact happen. And called out Angelo Lee. This is what we want. These are the moves that we want to see boxers make on a more consistent basis. Make it so that you are undeniable. Push your name out to a level that is not able to be forgotten. Push your brand as well as your threat level out into the ether and make it so that everybody, even if you want to overlook me, you can't. You've got to acknowledge me because I publicly acknowledge you. I publicly said I wanted to smoke. The ball's in your court. Do you want it or not? I want to unify. Do you want it or not? I want to give everybody the best work. Do you want it or not? I want smoke. I want to run the fade. I want to make it happen. Show me how bad you are and beat me. That's what he's doing. That's what he did. And that's exactly what we want. And so this, great, phenomenal, stupendous. The more he does this, I hope he keeps on doing this. And I hope more boxers follow suit with this level of, instead of trying to be even kill, instead of trying to say, oh, we'll just see how it goes, we'll see what we can make happen, all this stuff, make it so that you force yourself into a situation where you are undeniable to the public, undeniable to the masses, undeniable to everybody in the vicinity. That's what you want. That's exactly what we got. So shout out to Shakur Carrington. Again, put on another dominating display, another powerful display, another great knockout win for a brother who is young, hungry, and is looking to be one of the more dominant forces in the division. And has already set himself up to be one of the more major impact players that turns into a big-time star that this division has to offer. When everybody says that the small divisions shouldn't pay attention to because they ain't all that, not only do you got INOUE at 122, NAKATANI at 120, Bam Rodriguez at 118, but you got Nick Ball, and you got the likes of Fulton and Shoo now at 126. Oh, it's great. It's phenomenal. I love it. I love it. Absolutely. I love it. No question about it. And so proud of him. Can't wait to see what he continues to do. Great performance. Great win. And now, more and more we wait. Can't wait to see what goes on. And also, we've got some other breaking news in the world of boxing. Because not just with bigger fights that have been called out upon that people want to see happen, but also we have a big fight that I have been waiting to see for the longest time. A fight that I have been saying, just wait, give it time. I guarantee it will come through. I guarantee it will happen. I guarantee that we will not have to wait much longer to get the biggest fight that we have been waiting on from a talent and outright megastar perspective. And now it looks to be actually happening. Because, ladies and gentlemen, we now have a situation. Let me play it. Where's it at? There we go. Where we have, against what seem to be all odds, INOUE versus NAKATANI is going to happen, or seemingly is going to happen, in 2026. It's actually going to happen. My goodness. Can you believe it? Can you believe it? Can you believe it? It's here. It's actively here. They met at the Japanese World Boxing Awards a couple days ago. I believe this was, bedtime, this was posted, this was yesterday. Excuse me. It was yesterday. And I saw it yesterday. And I was excited. They met. INOUE challenged NAKATANI and said 2026, let's give the Japanese public and the boxing world the biggest fight possible. And you and me get in the ring together. NAKATANI said, let's do it. Get it. INOUE called out NAKATANI and said, let's make this fight happen. And now, shook on it. Both of them said, let's do it in front of the masses. We're here. We're here. I'm telling you, we're here. This is the home stretch. This is the home stretch. This is the very thing I was telling you to wait on. This is the very thing I was telling you, just be patient. Wait. I guarantee it's going to happen. Do not take your eyes off of 120 and 122. And that whole, and 118, don't take your eyes off of any of these divisions. Not only because of the action back with the likes of Takeshi, with the likes of Tajiri, with the likes of Diego Higa, and with the likes of Bam Rodriguez, but now with INOUE and with NAKATANI. Sooner rather than later, they were going to meet up. Sooner rather than later, it is going to happen. And I told you all within a year or two, Nakatani said with 1 or 2 fights at 120, and then I'm moving back up. Just had that last fight at 120. He's probably got one more. And Inoue's got 2 fights right now at 122 this year. With the likes of what's his name? Roman what's his name? Roman Cardenas in May, which is in that same weekend of Canelo, of Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney, and Teofimo Lopez, all fighting in New York, and also with, again, the Monster coming to Las Vegas. All 3 are happening. Inoue's fighting Roman Cardina, and then afterwards, September got agreed upon. He's fighting Ahmed Ali, a fighter who everybody's been saying they want to see him get in the ring with. Genuinely. Some people said he was ducking. Some people said that Ahmed Ali wasn't ready for it. Regardless of which, the clatter's been heard. Sam Goodman keeps on getting injured. And so now, this is the fight that we're going to get fight. Another great fight that we all want to see. Once those 2 happen in May and in September, Cardina's in September, and Ahmed Ali Cardina's in May, and Ahmed Ali in September, then boom, we're going to get the very thing that we wanted. Next year, probably, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in January. It's going to be Inoue versus Nakatani. And one of the biggest all-Japanese wars that we have ever seen. One of the best fights for pound level fighters that we've seen in the modern day of boxing. This is a genuine mega fight, if there was ever one. Action-packed, dichotomy of styles, both got power, both got incredible intelligence, both got speed and durability, both have been tested and have been proven, both have so far and away separated themselves from the rest of their division, and even outside of the division have separated themselves from the rest of the boxing regime that the talent pool has to offer. This is such a big event. I can't wait for it. Oh my gosh, I can't wait for it. I cannot wait. It's going to be in Tokyo, Joe. It's going to be over in Japan. It's going to be in front of one of the most ruckus, genuinely enthusiastic fan bases that we've seen. Nakatani's got his war followers. Inoue's got his war followers. Normally we see the Tokyo Dome silent. Absolutely. They ain't going to be silent tonight. It ain't going to be silent that night. It's going to be nothing but outright rah-rah all night long. You're probably going to see the Japanese audience act like we act here in America. Normally they're quiet. They talk or make noise with big fights, big moves, and then afterwards, die back down out of respect. That's what they do. That ain't happening with this fight. I'm almost sure. But they're going to be screaming all night long, hollering all night long, because it's going to be action-packed all night long. They won't have a moment to sit down. You probably won't see anybody sit down. I guarantee you. That fight will break records, monetarily and body-wise, to the people getting in the stadium. It is going to be so spectacular, and it is right around the corner. It's right there. It is right here. Oh my gosh, it's going to be spectacular. 2 of some of the best of this generation. 2 of the pound-for-pound greats between 120 and 122. 2 of the pound-for-pound best in the world right now are finally going to hit it off. And I have been waiting so long, and it's finally here. And I'm so excited for it, no question about it. But with all that being said, now we go into, I believe that's about it for the most of the stuff I covered for in terms of the core of this show. But now, it's time to make the show your own and push this into the stratosphere of the audience's hands. Yes, indeed, this is now time for the championship rounds. Yes, indeed. Let's get it started. Hey. Oh, boy. Let's get on and popping right now. It's time to make the show your own. Talk about whatever you want to discuss in the world of boxing and beyond, whether it's sports, whether it's anime, movies, TV, video games, all that stuff. I have no problems with, no qualms with. We can make it happen right now. And I'm so excited. Absolutely. And so, yeah, we can shoot. We got time. 30 minutes to an hour, or maybe more so, 15, because of the fact that we kind of had to start late and we don't want to hold people hostage over time. Unless y'all want to go farther, we'll go farther, no question about it. But make the show your own. Whatever comments, questions, debates, conversational points that you want to do. What do you want to talk about WWE? What do you want to talk about the new games coming out, like with Assassin's Creed? I believe Into the Shadows. I think that's what it's called, with Yasuke as one of the playable characters. Oh, it's phenomenal. Shutting a lot of the haters up, that video game is. Now, what everybody's saying was going to be, oh, we don't want a black brother. What do you mean a black brother in Japan? What do you mean a black brother as a samurai? All this racial tension, legitimately just disgusting rhetoric over a game that hadn't been coming out yet. Now, it's selling great, selling well. Everybody's loving it, genuinely. Yasuke was an actual character, or not a character, an actual person that was in real life an actual samurai that moved his way up in the ranks to become a vaunted hero. Genuinely, you can look him up. He's an actual factual person. With the way they see Assassin's Creed normally go through and making curtail their storylines in every single game, it is taking real history and characters and going through and telling their own story, how history was actually shown based on, again, the Assassin's Creed universe. That is the basis of the entire genre. And it's great. Again, it's phenomenal. One time you had to fight the Pope, who had the literal Garden of Eden apple from Adam and Eve. That was one of his biggest weapons. You had all that and more. It's great. It's phenomenal. It's absolutely spectacular, the whole franchise. But this one, it's living up to hype that people said it didn't even deserve, let alone it should have died off. Now, proving them wrong. And I'm so happy. Thank goodness. It's a great game. If you haven't gotten it, get it already. Also, if you want to go back and talk about the world of Gabe Rosado, for who had initially talked back to me, or excuse me, with Al Booker, who asked that question. No, Gabriel Rosado is not a Hall of Fame. A competitive fighter, sure. 26-17, 15 KOs, 4 knockouts. That is not, in any way, shape, or form, Hall of Fame material. No, it's not. With all these, you might have been joking. You might have been serious. But no, now I actually had to look him up and find out about him. No, that brother's not a Hall of Fame. Unless I'm looking up the wrong Gabriel Rosado. If this is the same Gabriel Rosado that lost to Jamel Charlo, that lost to Willie Monroe Jr., that lost to Daniel Jacobs, that lost to Jaime Munguia. That lost to Jaime Munguia, that lost to Sugar Shane Mosley. Yes, he's fought a lot of people. No question. Sure, excuse me. He lost to Sugar Shane Mosley Jr. He's lost to a lot of people. He's fought everybody. But he hasn't put up any sort of legitimate resume worthy of Hall of Fame. We respect him. We respect names taken him. But no, he's not there. Absolutely not. And so, but Daniel Jacobs also, now Daniel Jacobs, as you had asked earlier, is he a Hall of Fame? Now that is a more, well, that's a good question. Now that one's a good question. 37-5, 30 KOs on his resume. Genuinely a great middleweight of the time. Oh, that's tough. That's tough. I think that he will. There's a chance. Again, there's a chance that he gets there. Do I think he gets there? Most likely not. Can he do it? Potentially. Hypothetically. Again, even with the he lost every big fight. He's about just about every big fight. He lost. He lost to Gennady Golovkin. Lost to Canelo Alvarez. He beat Julio Cesar Chavez. Again, he beat Gabriel Rosado. Absolutely. Lost to John Ryder and lost to Sugar Shane Mosley Jr. I don't think he gets there. I don't think he gets there. Now his resume, again, respect, absolutely. Like we said, fought everybody and has fought some of the biggest names at their best in the division at middleweight. No question. and was always one of the top fighters at middleweight. But I don't know. And he won the IBF title. I don't think he gets there. You can make an argument, but I don't think he gets there off the backs of the resume. Not because he wasn't a great fighter. I just don't think he reaches that threshold at this point in time. And I think he's retired. Actually, I think he's done. And he ain't fought since 2024, and I don't think he's coming back to the ring. He might be, but I don't think he's coming back to the ring. So I think I don't think he gets to the Hall of Fame. I think he's a great fighter for the era, but I don't think he gets to the Hall of Fame. Close, and you can make an argument, you can make a conversation, but I don't think he gets there. In my humble opinion. Yo, but what's gonna be? Let's see what people have to say on this show as we continue to go through and talk about the world of boxing and beyond. No question about it. Yo, Bentley, what's going on, brother? How you doing? Good to see you. Thanks for tuning in to the show. Right now, we're in the championship round, going with anything and everything you all have to discuss, whether you want to talk about boxing, any of the past topics that we talked about, or anything new. Again, we've talked about the likes of, Terrence Crawford saying that Spence wasn't a Hall of Famer. We talked about Zapeda versus FAMER in their rematch that was, again, a barn burner. Was it a robbery or was it genuinely that FAMER did, in fact, lose? Zepeda versus the likes of Shakur Stevenson, how that fight would go. We've talked about the likes of INOUE and NAKATANI in 2026, verbally agreed they going to fight each other. They're going to meet in the center of the ring and make it happen. Whatever you want to discuss on that front and or more, we can have a conversation with no question. Do you want to talk about Juwan Boots Ennis? Do you want to talk about, the NBA? If you're an NBA fan, or do you want to talk about as the playoffs continue to go forth and become more and more apparent, Zion Williamson getting set out, LaMelo, of course, they shutting down LaMelo because of the fact that they ain't got nothing going on with the season. MVP races is still heating up and hotly contested. Again, it's still Jokic versus SGA for the MVP. Right now, it's a two-man race, and I really don't think that it should be that SGA should win. Now, I got Jokic winning MVP. That man is just too dominant in too many different capacities. Though we know OKC has the best record in the league right now, or I believe second best record in the league, best record in the West. I think the only team that's got the better record is the Cleveland Cavaliers at this point in time. But regardless of which, SGA, in my opinion, is not playing better than him. No question about it. And so I think that it should be that he wins. But let's see what you have to say and what's going on. NBA is trash. I'm sorry, but hey, man, it ain't trash. Again, the way it's covered is horrible. But it is indeed a lot. There is a lot of action going on right now. It's a lot of competitive fire in both conferences. Whether you think Cleveland or Boston can get out the finals, whether you think that we can see the Lakers actually make some noise, whether you think OKC and SGA will actually take the leap, not just as an elite team, but as a finals competing squad and get to the NBA finals. It's gonna there's a lot of shifting and moving that can go on. Houston's looking like a threat. The Spurs right now, while they're way out, next year, all of a sudden they could be dominant if they get Cooper Flag, because they would have Victor Wembanyama, they would have De'Aaron Fox, and then they would have Cooper Flag as a three-headed monster leading that whole squad. It's gonna be phenomenal. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. And on top of that, let's not forget with the Los Angeles Lakers, with them building up their essentially competitive playoff hopes, firmly in the playoffs right now. Next year, some talks going around that LeBron's going to take a player option, but take a lot less money so that they can fill out the rest of that roster, sign a big man and a couple of other pieces, and turn this recent acquisition of Luka Doncic into a legitimate, long-standing, finals-level competitive team with LeBron still on the squad. That's what the conversation is. There's a lot of news going on. Warriors looking good, looking great, actually. Though we know Steph got injured, I can't remember if he's back yet, but as they were looking recently with Jimmy Butler, hey, a match made in what looked to be a nightmare now looks to be like a match made in heaven with Jimmy Butler, again, making this squad, another squad that he's been on, another squad that he got traded to, better and better and better. There's a lot of stuff, man. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world of the NBA, and I'm excited to see. I'd rather watch the Final Four. In the Final Four right now, hey, for all what is it? It's all first seeds at this point in time. It's what is it? It's I think it's Houston. Is it Houston, Florida, Auburn, and Duke, I believe. Or now I'm a UNC fan, so I can't take Duke at all. Though anything. Though nothing. I'm a UNC fan, so I can't take Duke. Forget Duke. Bumper. I hate that they got this far at this point in time. But I got Auburn going all the way. But if you got the Gators, hey, look, no question. They are looking like a team, a phenomenal squad. They're one, in my opinion, they might be one of the two. Or excuse me, of the four teams, I think they are in that top three to be like, yeah, they're most likely get. I think they're most likely get to the actual finals. Excuse me, if I got my bracket right. And I think it's gonna be Gators and Auburn playing against each other. If I have my bracket correct, if I got it wrong, kind of got to excuse me. But ultimately, I got Auburn winning, in my humble opinion. Listen, but as far as boxing, Bud going on these podcasts saying a whole bunch of nonsense, and again, there's a lot of stuff that he's been saying that is indeed good, is indeed great quality info. This with Spence is absolutely ridiculous. This is preposterous in my humble estimation. Yo, Bill Durango, what's good with you? How you doing? Appreciate you coming in on the show, the hottest show in all the globe. The watchable with me, Jean-Louis. Thank you so much. Normally we're here early while we had some difficulties with the stream, getting stuff working as it should. Don't know why it was going awry, but ultimately we're here now. We're going to give you all the best that we got for this last segment of the show, for the roughly 15 to 30 minutes that we got on this stream left going through. Whatever you want to discuss, we can make it happen. The NBA is fire. Absolutely. I agree. So many more storylines, so many new potential options to win. It's incredible, and I'm excited for it. Spence is a Hall of Famer because he fought in 147 his whole career and fought for those 3 belts, and that's the thing. And yeah, the skill level in the NBA is crazy. Thank you. You're absolutely right, Bill. And we're going to talk about the NBA even more so. Put in your question, whatever you want to talk about. I will answer them. Absolutely. We can have a debate and a dialogue. I would love to hear what you have to say. But quickly with Bentley, going off of what Bentley has in terms of this statement, like I said before, and you might not have been here for when we covered it in bulk earlier in the show. Spence, the 3 biggest gripes with why Terrence is saying that Spence is in the Hall of Fame. He fought in one division. He went and didn't become undisputed, 2. And then also he was a weight bully, 3. And what was it for? Fought in one division, was a weight bully, didn't become undisputed. Oh, and some of the names that he fought were not really great wins on his front. All of those are ridiculous because of the fact that Spence fought at one division his entire career. Does not make it bad. We want people to reign and rule. We want people to be able to. Isn't that one thing that we love? When one fighter can dominate a weight class, genuinely clean house and reign. That's one of the things that makes it so great. Like I said before, and again, you might not have been here. Hagler reigned at middleweight. Gennady Golovkin reigned at middleweight. Those are the things that make champions dominant. Being able to reign, it is not easy. One weight class or multiple, regardless of which. Both of them only reigned at one division. And yet still, they are Hall of Famers. They're going to be Hall of Famers. Gennady Golovkin will be a Hall of Famer. No question. Errol Spence will be a Hall of Famer. In my opinion, no question. It makes it's nonsense. And you can't put down Kell Brook if you also beat Kell Brook. And one of the biggest reasons why that was such an impactful win, because it was held as, oh my gosh, Spence went the distance with Kell Brook, though he dominated and won. And we got to see the likes of Crawford beat Kell Brook within 5 rounds. Knock him out. Full stop. Oh my goodness, that's incredible. The claim of damaged goods or not, whatever the case may be, everything, even whatever argument you wanted to put down that win, it was still, that fight was incredible. And I was trying to defend that win, saying, no, that fight was Indeed incredible, regardless of any circumstance, because of who he beat. You downplaying Sean Porter, saying that was a good win, but almost hesitantly. Now that puts down your win of Sean Porter, that you knocked him out. It makes no sense that you are hurting your own career. Getting 3 belts and becoming unified also was something that was held against him. It's great. Excuse me. I'm sorry. He stopped him. I'm so sorry. I had it wrong. I thought he went the distance. No, he did. I knew he beat him up, bludgeoned him, broke his orbital bone, did all that stuff. I apologize. I thought the fight went the distance. Excuse me. I misremembered. Appreciate you. Thank you for putting me on the right track. He did stop him. Kell Brook did get stopped by Errol Spence Jr. Yes, you are absolutely right. My apologies. No question. I messed up. But regardless of which, that even makes this questioning even more nonsensical, because the previous statement that I said still stands. The previous statement that I said still stands, that the reason why Kell Brook's win was incredible for Crawford was because he stopped him quicker than Errol Spence did. And it was like, oh shoot, yo, that's phenomenal. And even the argument of, again, damaged goods because Kell Brook got stopped by Spence first still didn't negate the fact that, oh my gosh, brother, Crawford just stopped Kell Brook with a short shot that looked like it didn't have a whole bunch of power. Again, this stuff I've said earlier is for people that have just come in. Did like, yo, maybe this brother might actually be able to give Spence a run for his money. That win was incredible. Both wins were great. Both wins were phenomenal. And so you shouldn't demean it, because it only demeans your own career. It boggles my mind that we have this. Again, Crawford isn't stupid. Crawford's smart and intelligent. All this stuff is true. It's just the fact that this man, the stuff that he's saying right now makes him look like a hater. It does. It really makes him look like a hater. I'm not saying he is or isn't. But statements like this, it's hard to misconstrue to anything else outside of it makes you look like a hater against somebody that, again, you seem to have respect for. Though you're only saying your 2 cents, again, like Al Booker brought up earlier in the show. It's still like you understand how it comes off, right? It comes off as like backhanded. It comes off as like you only said all that stuff in the build up to the fight about how you respected me. Yeah, you said that you'll beat me, but about how you respected me, about how he's a great fighter and all that stuff. Oh, he's gonna be tough, no question, but I'm gonna beat him and show you why I'm great. But he's also still great. All that stuff before and then now afterwards, years down the line, you coming out and saying this, it's like what? I don't know what flipped. I don't know what switched. But this seems kind of, we've seen Crawford say that people ain't as great as they are. Absolutely. Even with the award, if he's had a problem with somebody, forget that last statement, I misspoke. Not that we've seen him say that people are bad before. We have seen him critique people before and still give them their props on their respect of how great they are as a fighter. He did it with Tank. He said he didn't like Tank personally, yet he still said, Tank's still a phenomenal fighter. And now to go all of a sudden go and say, but his talent really now all of a sudden isn't all that. When previously you gave it respect, it's kind of, you're flipping. You are flip-flopping. And it doesn't make any sense, because you only hurt your own legacy for what Spence means to you. Because if we're being completely honest, without Spence, you don't get the same level of respect that you have right now. And it's not because I'm hating, it's because that's the truth. When it came time for Spence and Crawford, it was a situation where I was saying that Crawford would beat Spence and that Crawford is one of the best in the world. There was a lot of flack that I would get meeting people face to face when I would talk about it. Because Crawford ain't all that. I ain't even people coming up and saying, who is Crawford face? And you see, and it's like the very reason why Crawford is in a position to negotiate, get fights with Canelo, be seen as pound for pound one of the best in the world, get that pound for pound number one spot definitively across the board for everybody, was because of what he did to Errol Spence and him fighting Errol Spence. Without Spence, there is a real conversation that we don't get the same level of legitimate acclaim and respect that we see with the likes of Crawford right now. We don't. And now you're saying that his career wasn't all that, not even Hall of Fame level. Well, that means that you just beat a regular schmegular brother. And you didn't. You dominated a regular schmegular dude. You dominated an average Joe, an overhyped fighter. That's what it sounds like when you say stuff like that. And it's not true. And so it's like, it's for me, it's incredibly wrong. And yep, stop Kell Brook on his feet, and he did it in Brook's own country. Yep, you're right, absolutely did, which was like, oh my gosh, again, incredible. With the whole hometown advantage, potential judges and all that stuff that we've seen countless times before in boxing, and he was able to go over to enemy territory and beat him. That's impressive, no question. But Spence post-car accident fought Danny Garcia, Mikey Porter. Excuse me, he fought Danny Garcia, Mikey Garcia, Sean Porter, and Crawford. Pretty solid. That's incredible. No question. Like, again, I brought that up earlier in the show. He fought when the division was deep, before Danny Jacobs went downhill, before the likes of Sean Porter. He never really went downhill, but a more prime version of Sean Porter and Crawford. Kell Brook, beforehand, like it's before the crash, after the crash, the brother went through the gauntlet of the division. He got every belt individually when becoming a unified 3-belt holding champion. Like, he went through the ringer. And at that point in time, one of the most exciting divisions in boxing. You can't then say that now doing all that, and now you not beating Crawford to become undisputed, now invalidates everything about what you've done in your career. That's just not feasible. It's not possible. It doesn't make any sense. And then, like I said before, again, when you all weren't here, didn't say that Sean Porter is a Hall of Fame level fighter because he fought everybody. You can't do that. You can't. And I think Sean Porter should be in Hall of Fame. But I can't say that and then go back and say, nah, Errol Spence shouldn't be. Because Errol Spence was better than Sean Porter. He fought. He went through the ringer just like with Sean Porter and won against just about everybody outside of Crawford. And he beat Sean Porter at Sean Porter's best. I don't know what the discrepancy is. I don't know why this is coming about. And for me, it's very bad taste. And I would take it. Even if he didn't mean it as disrespectful. Even if he didn't mean it as anything negative, and just him, again, speaking his mind, which he's done throughout his entire career. This is for what we know Spence is. Whether you're a fan or a hater, it's hard to not take this as disrespect. It's really hard. Yo, Fight Buzz, what's good with you? How you doing? Thanks for tuning into the show. We are in the championship rounds. Whatever you want to say or gotta say, please come through. Have your conversations, have your debates. Whatever you want to discuss, you can have it at right now. Bill Durango, I know you had asked something about the Warriors. You had said the NBA is crazy. You had asked something about the Warriors when I was going through and talking through Bentley's point. And so I apologize. If you would, put your comment back in the chat so I can answer it. No question about it. I can give you my opinions on it all. Because I would love to have some discourse about the NBA because it's heating up. It's getting exciting. We're getting into the nitty gritty of the playoff-centric level of basketball. The highly elevated. Every game matters. The play-ins, the playoffs, the finals, all that stuff. Hotly contested rivalries. Everything's coming down to the wire. And I'm excited to talk to you with it. If you want to, whatever you want to ask about it, please go through. Put back in your chat, and I would love to have a conversation about it. And anybody else who's got something to say about what they have to debate with, talk with, questions or comments, anything, I'm all well for it. And I'm an open book. No question about it. Now let's see what you all have to say. But hey, while you're still getting your questions together, we still got some stuff I can say to kill some time. Oh, I almost forgot. Please leave a like on the stream if you would. If you haven't already, go ahead and leave a like on the stream. If you haven't, hey, get the likes up. We got 5 people. We've had 11. I think with the stream we had upwards of 8. And now we got 6. However many are here. I value all of you. I'm so happy that y'all are here. I'm so happy that y'all are willingly coming through and making this show the best that it can be. Love to all of you. And leave a like on the stream to get more people to come into the chat. Get more conversational pieces into the ethos of this community to make this the biggest empire in all the globe. I can't do this without you, and I appreciate all of you and your support. No question about it. And so if you would, leave a like on the stream so that we can indeed, hey, make it happen. Make this great. Make this indeed a phenomenal, incredible display. And I would love it. Absolutely love it if you would do that. And so, but with all that being said, even more so on the realm of the boxing regime. Now, what does this mean for if that's the case, real quick to continue with the point of Crawford Spence in this whole conversation. If Crawford is saying that Spence wasn't a great win because he ain't accomplished much, then does that mean that Crawford's win over the likes of Madrimov also is not a quality win by his own metrics? The Madrimov only fought at 154, got the belt within 10 fights, which again was impressive, but hadn't really accomplished really much of anything before. And was a great amateur, absolutely, but in terms of the pro ranks, hadn't accomplished many of the criteria that they listed in terms of that conversation with Kamaru Usman, Sammy Cejudo, and Terrence Crawford. Much of that stuff Madrimov hadn't accomplished. And then he just lost to the likes of Virgil Ortiz, a more physically demanding loss than what it was against the likes of Terrence Crawford. So now does that put that Madrimov win on a lower totem pole? Does that put Crawford beating him at 154 now not as nearly an impactful type of performance because of who Madrimov is? And again, I still value Madrimov as a good fighter. He is a good fighter. Losing to Virgil Ortiz and then losing to Terrence Crawford is not a negative thing. It's not bad. Some people were putting him on a higher pedestal than he really deserved. That's the problem. But in terms of him being, a bum, I didn't say he was that. I was impressed with what he had been able to do as a fighter. Getting a title within 10 fights is not an easy feat. And we saw what Lomachenko was able to do, and we all said that was impressive. This is maybe not as equally impressive, but it's still impressive. But now we're saying that it's like if we're gonna talk about that and say that Spence wasn't great because of all those lists of things, then we have to say that win against Madrimov now is not nearly as impressive as it was. It's not nearly as impressive as we touted it to be. He doesn't really speak to why we say that Crawford could compete with the likes of Canelo. Because Madrimov reaches nothing of the criteria of what would be a quality level Hall of Fame fighter. And we shouldn't be looking at him as something that is legitimate. And also, Bill, okay, so Bill, you back, what's good with you? How you doing? Again, saw your comment, you had to delete it. It was something about the Warriors. I was answering Bentley's question. Whatever you were going to say, chat it in the chat below so I can answer it or have that conversation with you because I didn't get to read it before you had took it away. So please, put it back in the chat or whatever else you want to discuss, put it in the chat and we can talk about it right now. Right now, I'm quickly going, in the meantime, as people getting their questions together, going back through a different point of view with this whole Spence-Crawford saga. And I'm saying that if what he said about Spence is how he feels, then you can make an argument that Crawford versus Madrimov is not really as much of a quality thing, in my humble estimation. And the only thing I'm going to say about that Canelo Bud, Canelo couldn't get Charlo out, and he moved up to 154. And that is true. That is absolutely true. Now, with that saying, y'all got to look at it with that type of conversation. You got to look at it from a different perspective. Yes, Canelo of recent hasn't had as many knockouts as we normally see him have. It's been a minute since he had a knockout. When he thought he was going to get against John Ryder, didn't do it. I was so sure he was going to get it against the likes of Canelo. And he didn't. But this fight with Charlo is a little bit different because Charlo wasn't trying to fight. And I'm going to explain why that's different in a little bit. But let me answer Bentley's question, and I'll get right back to you. Or let me answer Bill's question, and I'll get right back to you, Bentley, real quick. Warriors don't have a real center. I don't see them going far in the playoffs. Again, I don't either. This year, I mean, they got Kevin Looney. They got that Jackson fella who acts as center, who didn't, I don't even think he's got a picture on ESPN or any NBA website for his position. So tells you how much of a talent he is in the grander landscape of the basketball world. But they are built enough to get a potential upset with somebody. Not going to go far. But they have with what they're showing now with Steph and Jimmy Butler. Again, if Steph is fully healthy going into the playoffs, they can make some noise. I think won 7 straight. They quickly rose up the ranks of the Western Conference. They were beating some good teams after getting Jimmy Butler. Trouncing good teams at one point in time. Jimmy Butler has an effect on the squad where he can elevate you beyond what you think you can be. Defensively, they tightened up after looking like a bum in all facets, not knowing what to do. All of a sudden, all their role players are starting to play a lot better. Kuminga's gotten a lot more promise. Buddy Hield's playing better. Steph is still being Steph. And Jimmy adding as a defensive anchor on top of with Draymond Green and the whole flow of that entire offense, seemingly though it shouldn't have worked, it's working great. I'm not saying they're going far, but they can scare some teams. And they can potentially upset somebody in the first round. I'm so sure. And next year, that's when stuff really gets down and dirty. Because next year they're going to have some money. They'll be able to sign somebody. And they can potentially put a more competent and younger center outside of Kevin Looney on that team to really round them out. And now this looks to be a big threat. And if Kuminga does indeed evolve into the potential player that we say he can be, with this length and athleticism, with his ability to drive to the basket, that can be something scary. That can be, for me, that can be something scary. I'm not saying they're going to dominate, but they can upset some people. They can. At minimum, they can cause a scare to some people. And that, keep an eye out. Really keep an eye out. Because that Jimmy Butler effect, like he did on the Timberwolves, like he had for the 76ers in the one year that they almost got to the finals, it ain't fake. It ain't fake at all. It ain't fake at all. Jimmy Butler will ruin the Warriors like he did every other team was on. See, again, he didn't ruin them. Sixers, they were one fluke shot away from getting to the NBA Finals, and Jimmy Butler was on that team. Timberwolves, they looked so much better when Jimmy Butler was on that squad. And then, of course, the whole practice saga and all that behind-the-scenes drama, and then boom, he said, get me out of here. Miami went to 2 finals as, I think one year, was it the 6th seed or 8th seed, one of the two, one of the lower seeds in the Eastern Conference, had no business being in there. Got there in the bubble, then got there in 2023. I believe it was 2023. Or maybe 2022. Whatever the year that Jokic won the title and lost the MVP, but won the title and won finals MVP. He got him there twice for a team that should not have been there by any metric. Beating the Celtics. Just about the same loss that we have with the Celtics right now, outside of Porzingis and a couple other pieces. Excuse me, outside of Porzingis and June Holiday. Beat them. Makes no sense. This is a brother who, regardless of how you feel about the drama that he can bring to your team, he is a game changer. And in the playoffs, that brother produces time and time again. If you get him there, he'll elevate his game. And he'll make it so that everybody elevates their game around him because he's done it before. And so, no, I don't think he ruins squads. I think for this team, he's an unlikely asset that has made this Warriors squad better. Because before Jimmy Butler, they sucked. I remember, I got friends of the Warriors fans. They were like, we are terrible. We're horrible. Somebody please get Steph some help. Because Steph can't carry the squad. They are looking like they don't know what they're doing. All of a sudden, Jimmy gets there, and everything seems to be quickly riding on the ship, at least back to some level of stability. That's the effect he's got. There won't be any of the top teams. Understandable. They can give somebody a scare. Potentially, I'm not saying they're going to go far. I'm saying potentially they can upset at least somebody. With this Warriors squad, they can play at their best. I think they can. At worst, they scare some teams. Take a competitive team to 6, maybe even 7. Lose. Ultimately, I think they're going to lose. But they have something. Jimmy Butler and Steph, that's something. They got something. You can say it's ugly, you can say it's pretty. They got something that has shown that off rip, it can have some good effects. Later on down the line, it can be even more effective. Teams they beat sat out their star players in those games. And again, we're going to find out whether or not it's true or not. All this could just be flack. You're absolutely right. All this could be nothing. And we could indeed see, okay, boom, they implode. I'm just saying what I see in this squad is something that goes beyond just a fluke. But it could very well be I'm reading into a situation that ain't reality. If it does turn out that way, then it turns out that way. And we change our tune in kind. But I can't deny what I've seen from the squad. Because even in those same situations, when teams set out players before Jimmy Butler, I remember early in the season when they were getting blown out. When Steph would have monster games and they would suck. When Kuminga looked like a bum. When their center play was even worse than it was now. When their guard play was absolutely obsolete. Popinski or whatever, or the orange-haired brother was playing abysmal. Kuminga, everybody was saying, brother, what are you doing? How are you this tall, but you can't get to the rim or use your athleticism at worst just to jump over people? I remember all of that talk. That wasn't just non-existent. It was there. And so now, with Jimmy Butler, I can't deny the change I've seen from the whole of the roster. I'm not saying it's going to be immediate, boom, they're going to the finals. No, never going that far. But I'm not going to deny that they can scare somebody. And next year, if they get some more pieces and further fill out the potential of some of their other role players with Jimmy Butler and Steph leading the charge, there's something there with this team that we need to keep an eye on. Watch the Grizzlies game tonight. They're getting blown out tonight. If the Grizzlies play, or watch Grizzlies game tonight. They're getting blown out tonight. If Grizzlies play, they Senators. Potentially, do they? Let me see. Do they play tonight? Who do they play against? Let me check real quick. Memphis Grizzlies tonight. They play I know they lost to. No, I'm sorry. They didn't lose to They didn't lose to LA. That was Houston. Houston lost to the Lakers last game. It wasn't them. They played who? Let me see. Let me get back. Hold on. I'm getting the stuff up. I'm pulling it up now. Pulling up the games now. They play the San Antonio, Charlotte, Indiana, Golden State in Los Angeles, Portland and Atlanta. There we go. Golden State and Memphis. That's who it is. Golden State and Memphis. They played in the it's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be real. That's gonna be real interesting. That's gonna be interesting. They play they play tonight? Shoot, if they do, I'm gonna try to tune in today. I'm gonna definitely try to tune in today. April 1st. Yep, Golden State at Memphis. Oh yeah, that's gonna be good. That's gonna be really good. I can't wait to see that game. I can't wait. Yo, Trey, how you doing? Trey Mo, what's good with you? How you good? How you doing? Let's see what you got. We in the championship rounds right now. Thank you for tuning in and listening to the show again. We started late because we had some issues with the stream. Something was going awry when I was trying to get this thing working and everything was not kosher. And I don't know what, but regardless of which, we're here now. We got roughly, well, I think we might be going over our 30-minute time slot, but I don't care. We're going to make up for it by giving everybody what they want and doing what we do best. Whatever you want to discuss, whatever you want to talk about, any types of conversation, we making the show your own. Absolutely. And so put it in the chat, whatever you want to discuss. We talk about the NBA, talking about Errol, Spence, talking about a bunch of stuff. And anything else, in or outside of sports, you want to talk about it, we're here to be about it. No question about it. We'd love to hear your conversation. Love to hear your thoughts as of right now. Warriors getting blown out. Are they playing now? Or are they saying they're getting blown out tonight? They're getting blown out tonight. Okay, tonight, they can we're gonna see. We're gonna see. Especially with Zach Edey. Oh gosh. That's gonna that's gonna be a monster. Because you're right, that is going to be the biggest Achilles heel. That they don't have a center to stop the likes of Zach Edey at all. In any way, shape, or form. They don't got a center to stop Jaren Jackson Jr. And so but, with the whole coaching changes that they've had, the whole turmoil that they're going through with the likes of firing their coach right before the playoffs are getting ready to start, with them being roughly, what are they, fourth or fifth in the Western Conference right now, looking like one of the more dominant sleeper teams that the West had to offer. All of a sudden, you nix them. Yeah, they're fifth in the conference right now. They might be going through some growing pains internally. And so we could see potentially, hey, maybe there's some implosion that could be going on. We don't know. We're going to wait and see. Do I think Memphis should beat them tonight? Yes, absolutely. But again, it's just an interesting sentiment. It's just an interesting thing to think about when it comes to them two. Let's see, Trey Mo. Let's see, what you got to say about this, Jordan or LeBron? Who do I got? Jordan or LeBron for the GOAT? Ooh, and yes, you are right. This is a big playoff race implicating type game. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see it. This is going to be, I think, they are, oh shoot, they tied. If Golden State beats Memphis, if Golden State, do they move up? Does Golden State move up if they beat Memphis tonight? If Memphis wins, they better lock in their spot for the fifth spot in the West. But if they lose, they'll be 44 and 32. Golden State will be 44 and 31. But that division record might keep them. I don't know. But it is going to be big. You're right. Do they move up or down if they win this game? That's a good question. Okay, they do. Okay, appreciate it. Okay, thank you. They do move up if they win this game. Okay, yeah. See, okay, so you're right. This is bigger than even I expected for playoff implications. I'm excited for it. We're going to see it tonight. But let's see. Jordan or LeBron for the GOAT? Where's my music? Because I know this is going to be... For the GOAT conversation, I got LeBron. Yes, I do. I got LeBron as the greatest option. The greatest for me. GOAT conversation subjective. I ain't got no problem with it though. You can have Jordan as the GOAT. Cool. No problem. The argument's there. Absolutely. I just feel that LeBron, in my opinion, is the GOAT of basketball. And my criteria was incredibly clear and slightly evolved the more I became to study the game, but it's been about consistent, and he reached it. This is, for me, this is a brother who's done, not just in terms of accolades, but individually, has been able to become such a dominant force in nearly every aspect of the game. He can out-coach the best coaches while he's on the floor. He's smarter than I would argue he's the smartest player I've ever seen in basketball. Bar none. That's with Larry Bird. That's with Jordan. That's with the likes of Magic, Kareem, Stockton, don't matter. I think he's the smartest player I've ever seen play. His passing ability is his greatest asset. And at the same time, he's broken Kareem Abdul-Jabbar's record for most points while playing in less games and taking less shots. He has, every single season, systematically elevated a new portion of his game to essentially become almost, there is no skill set that he doesn't lack. The biggest thing right now that we complain about LeBron, if there is a gripe, is age, and his athleticism is slowly but surely going down. Yet still, at 40 years old, he's in the top 5 conversation for MVP race, up for the official Kia MVP race. That doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense at all. He has scored 42,000 points. Again, in less games than Kareem scored 38,000. And he's still climbing. He is 5th in assists and first in points. That doesn't make any sense. That makes no sense whatsoever. He has put on an accolade-laden resume that is only rivaled by Wilt Chamberlain, and collectively has garnered a level of talent and success that puts him against anybody, and I think as the best. And I can't. The 6-0 ring conversation argument is not the only thing in basketball. We know this when we look at the game objectively. I used to argue like that when I was younger. I had people telling me that because of you want, but now if you really want to go that route of rings are the biggest thing that make it 6-0, that's why Jordan's to go. Well, if we put this back in boxing perspectives, Floyd Mayweather's 50-0 in his career. He's nowhere close to the GOAT conversation. Nowhere close to the GOAT conversation. You know why? Because there are other people that reached that mark and went beyond that. And still, they kept on fighting. And eventually, they lost, but they were still greater. Julio Cesar Chavez went 89-0. Could have retired right there. Sugar Ray Robinson went 40-0. Lost one time. Avenged that loss. And then went 70-0. That's preposterous. There was like, you understand that. That is over. He had a collective record at that point in time of over 100 wins and 1 loss with 80-something KOs. That doesn't make any sense, but it's real. Floyd never did anything like that, but Floyd's undefeated. Rocky Marciano's 49-0. Absolutely. If he kept fighting, he would have lost. Some speculate that the mob forced him to get out because they were like, we don't want to lose money. That's a whole nother conversation. When it comes to the GOAT conversation, if it's just rings, that can't be the only thing. Because Robert Horry has more rings than Michael Jordan. Bill Russell went 8-0. He's got a ring on every finger and his pinky toe. He's got a toe ring and a full laden hand of rings. And nobody says that he's above Jordan. It can't just be rings that you're only debate. It can't just be, oh, he's greatness, he's a killer. If we want to be honest, with so Stephen A. drama that's going on right now, that shine a light on how NBA coverage is shown. It's one of the biggest gripes as to why a lot of the stigma of Jordan was because it was a protected, laden thing that was used to discredit other people that had that same thing. Outside of Kobe, you don't hear nobody else saying anybody else was a killer. Tim Duncan was a killer. He was a silent killer. Players talk about it all the time. Nobody mentioned it. LeBron has been a killer. It's tied for the most game-tying or winning shots in the history of the NBA. Only under Michael Jordan with 9. He's got 8. Kobe's got 8. Joe Johnson's got 8. He's had more clutch buckets than anybody else in NBA history. That is not me hyperbole. That is an actual fact. In terms of in the last 3 to 5 minutes of a game. This season alone, we have seen countless situations that man put the team on his back. This man punked Stephen A. down to the Knicks, to his face, and came back and beat the Knicks and led the charge in that run in the fourth quarter. He's done this countless times. He scored 25 straight against Detroit, who had just beat Kobe and Shaq, with Zydrunas Ilgauskas and Anderson Varejao and Larry Hughes and Eric Snow as his best running mates. He did that. He drugged that team to the finals. He took an old team with Shaq to 60 wins. He lost to the Heat, no question. Absolutely. He should have played better. He could have played better. He then proceeded to go on and have one of the most diabolical seasons we've ever seen from an NBA player. So clear cut, it was it's almost laughable that he was the best player in the world. He's had more instances that we have lived through that it has been genuinely seen that he was robbed of awards that he should have gotten, like Defensive Player of the Year, like MVP, which he only has 4. There's a couple years where he should have had more. Brian Windhorst himself said, I wish I had voted for LeBron when I voted for James Harden, the year that James Harden won MVP. Because LeBron's greatness in 2018 was so far and away better than everybody else. I made a mistake. We've seen more revisionist history on the side of mistakes were made in how we evaluated LeBron's legacy and play at that point in time. Never ever heard from anybody else in basketball. And this is from people that have said that Jordan's the GOAT. More and more the argument of longevity held against him is getting quieter and quieter. Because people are starting to understand that longevity is not something that is just, oh, it is a time award. That is a legitimate stamp of greatness. That if you can stay this great as one of or the best players in the league for this long, at this age, where you've seen 3 different evolutions of basketball, and you are still in MVP conversations, and there is still in the league right now only maybe 1 or 2 people that you would take in the playoffs above the likes of LeBron. And this is him at 40. This isn't longevity anymore. This is just greatness. This is just greatness that's too loud to be ignored. This defies logic and reason. He's lost everything that we said should make him still great, yet he's still great. He's lost some of his speed. He's lost some of his physicality, in terms of verticality. He's lost some of his verticality. He's cut down in weight, so he's not nearly as big as he used to be, though he's still one of the strongest players in the NBA. He isn't beating people off the dribble the same way they used to at his best when everybody said he just drives to the rim. He's been one of the better three-point shooters in the league for the past 4 years. He beat Steph Curry in three-point percentage, I believe, 2 years ago. He shot 40% at the end of one season. Shot 35 for 1 year, 36 for 1 year, 37% for another year, 36 again, and then above league average the year afterwards. That's 5 years that this man has been able to be one of the best snipers in the league. He's also been one of the best mid-range threats in the whole of basketball. There is no shot that he can't shoot. There's no place on the court that he can't score. His court vision is still, outside of currently Jokic, he's the best in basketball. There's nothing that he lacks. And his resume, again, speaks for itself. And so it's like, I'm not saying that Jordan ain't got no conversation. He does. Absolutely. Not saying that at all. But it's the fact that, like, for me, I can't overlook what I'm seeing. And I had Jordan for the longest time as the best I had ever seen. My GOAT. Genuine. And I said LeBron was right there. And every year I kept saying the gap's getting closer and closer and closer. Then he won the title, averaged 26 and led the league in assists. While still, again, you could argue he should have won MVP. Or was second MVP voting. Many people felt potentially he should have won it. And now where we're at right now, it's still relative to that same level of play. I can't overlook that. I can't. For me, I can't. Jordan played 15 seasons, LeBron played 22, and still going. And again, you have to understand what makes this so special. I'm not holding Jordan's 15 years. Oh, he only played 15. Jordan played 22, or LeBron played 22. Ooh, one's better than the other. I'm saying to be able to play for 22 years at this level should not be possible. Larry Bird plays like Nikola, or it was a blueprint to what we see with Nikola Jokic right now. That brother only played 13 because of injury. His back injury forced him to retire. And he could have still been playing at his best. 13 years is how long Larry Bird played. 13 years, Jordan was still relatively in his prime. And if he had stayed playing, probably could have played for longer. But physically, he couldn't do it. Both of them. Magic. Brother could have played for longer. But the whole HIV situation caused his career to get cut short. We've had many players, whether you want to go Isaiah Thomas or even Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, who also played 20-plus seasons to get to 38,000 points, which, again, it took him that long to get there. Which I don't understand why this is being held against LeBron. When Kareem played the same amount of time in terms of seasons to get to his record and solidify the record with the points that he got before ultimately he retired. And LeBron takes less time, though it's the same seasons, takes less games to reach and cross that same threshold. And all of a sudden that is held as a detriment to him. That's a problem. For me, that's a very big problem. Because that's an imbalance engaging greatness. Because you can't laud him for taking that long. Taking 20 years to break the record. One of the greatest centers of all time. Argument for one of the greatest players, if not the greatest player of all time in Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. Top 5 in many people's lists. You can't laud him for taking 20 years to have that record. And with that being one of the main records as to why people had him as, oh yeah, he's the GOAT. And then have the likes of LeBron take the same time to break that record, which we thought would never happen. And then all of a sudden it's held back against him. That's a contradiction. And I don't do that. I don't do contradictions, or I try not to do contradictions, because it just sullies the sport. Jordan in his 15 years was spectacular. No question. But Jordan's greatness was only relegated to that back-to-back, and again, back-to-back championship runs. The reason why Jordan is looked at the way that he's looked at, it's not just because he's a great player, but it's because people forgot what happened before he became great. And even when he did become great, what they were already saying about him, excuse me, was not fairly given the same treatment to the likes of LeBron. Again, without any MVPs, after getting swept by the Celtics and swept by Detroit twice, he was already called the greatest of all time. The GOAT conversation, again, for those of you who don't know, wasn't started until after Jordan came into play. And it became legitimately a real notion. Hey, is this brother the best we've ever seen? And before he had accomplished anything of the likes of a Kareem, anything close to a Bill Russell or a Wilt Chamberlain or other greats that came before him, like Dr. J and others, he was already touted as the greatest then, without any of the accolades that we hold against LeBron as having now. And so that, coupled with nostalgia, coupled with media protection, coupled with genuine, and this isn't hyperbole, genuine fictitious stats that were given to Jordan. Remember that Defensive Player of the Year that he got? It has been confirmed, not speculated, confirmed, that stats were falsely given to Jordan during that season to give him opportunities, or rather to give him the nod for best player in the league or best defensive player in the league. When it wasn't. That 10 steal game that the NBA's got on their YouTube channel right now, he only got 6, and it's still great. Don't get me wrong, but the brother only got 6 steals in one of the biggest defensive displays we've ever seen. Allen Iverson got 11 steals, and that's the most, I believe, in playoff history. And that was legitimate. The very record of the game that Jordan plays in that whole situation, there's only 6 steals in that game if you watch the game on the part of Jordan. Legitimately manipulated fictitious stats. And so there is a lot of things when you look at the aura of Jordan. The skill is still the skill. Absolutely. But acting like he was perfect, making it so that he was untouchable in terms of nobody can ever be this. That's where the problem lies. Nobody's untouchable. Nobody's perfect. Nobody can be eclipsed. Sugar Ray Robinson in boxing. Somebody can be better than him. It can happen. Somebody can be better than Roy Jones Jr. It can happen. Somebody can be better than Pacquiao. It can happen. They're not above reproach to be passed up. Somebody could be better than Kareem and was better than Kareem. To have conversations that cause, to have talks that cause conversations to be seen as cut and dry when they're not cut and dry is a problem. Because then you willingly do things to drown out noise for the argument that's against you. And that's not right. Even with me thinking LeBron's the GOAT, I've had the conversation about everything with Jordan back and forth all the time. Absolutely. I know just about everything you can think of when it comes to whatever stat, accolade, game, accomplishment, skill set, all of that. I've had them all. Had them all. There's still something new that could happen, but regardless of which, I've heard just about everything. I'm still open to that and judge it objectively. Even if I disagree, I'm like, hey, brother, that's a great argument. That's a great resume. I completely get it. Here's my rebuttal as to why da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da, and then boom. Here's my criteria for why I put LeBron as the GOAT. If he did X, Y, and Z, he did X, Y, and Z. I'm keeping up with my consistency. But it's based on the actual production and based on what I know basketball is about. And so because for me, a lot of the way that the GOAT conversation is approached is not correct. Because normally it's used to demean the other person. Rather than just saying, I think he's better. Well, I think he's better. But ultimately, they're both still great. No problem. It's used as combative instead of uplifting. You need the conversation. No question. You need it. It's necessary. You got to have it to have a level of standard for people of the next generation to reach. Who was the best to know where we need to go and how far we need to touch in the stars? How far is the moon? So we know where to jump. That's what we're looking for. You need that. But at the same time, when you move the moon, it becomes, well, this is a mess. This ain't what I wanted to do. This ain't what I was trying to chase. Y'all made it so easy or so cut and dry for this one person to reach the moon. And now for anybody else that goes and tries to out jump that same moon, now you're moving it all over the place. Bringing stuff up that ain't even about basketball. Bringing stuff up that is an outright lie on who the player is. Saying he couldn't play in an era. Saying he couldn't play. Have got people like Mad Dog saying he couldn't play in the 70s, in the 60s. Oh, Dave Cohen's. Oh, NAKATANI Archibald. He doesn't want to mess with Rick Mahorn, Bill Laimbeer, Nate Thurman. Oh, LeBron couldn't mess with anybody. Oh, Giannis couldn't mess with them. That's stupid. And this is not because I disrespect them. All of those players were and are still great. But don't look at me and say that we don't know what we're seeing now with the best brand of basketball, the most skilled era of basketball that we've ever seen. And with how basketball was played back then, with the skill sets we have now, you couldn't tell me that these people wouldn't be just as, if not more dominant in past eras of play. In the same era as Jordan, where Jordan had to bulk up to go and beat the Detroit Pistons. If LeBron was playing against the Pistons, they tried to play physical, he's most likely bulldozing most of them, if not all, because he's stronger than all of them. Same thing with Giannis. He's 6'9", at his heaviest was 280. And he was 280 coming off of his years in Cleveland, in the prime physically in Miami. And you mean to tell me that couldn't compete with Rick Mahorn, when we see so many examples and we got a whole 30-minute highlight reel of people grabbing and trying to truck LeBron as he's driving to the hoop today? And we're seeing him still finishing through contact? I don't understand why this is a conversation of grit, spit, and legitimate wit when it comes to questioning the ability of a player, when we know that that's the bold-faced lie when you say they couldn't compete or they wouldn't be able to play. They don't have got a killer mentality. All of that, that's not rooted in sound basketball discussion. You can say somebody's better. I got no problem with it. But don't say that somebody is demeaned and say, oh, they just don't belong. They couldn't do this, that, or the third because of somebody else. You don't do that. Because you know that's a lie. You know that's a lie. Both-faced lie. And so I got LeBron as my GOAT. I have no problem with Jordan being anybody's GOAT. It can probably flip-flop the more I think about it, regardless of which. Right now, it's LeBron. And it's looking like it's going to stay. But regardless of which, even if you disagree, it shouldn't be this level of dichotomy where it's combative and not genuine conversation. And oh, you don't know basketball if you think LeBron's the greatest. We do know basketball. If we didn't, we wouldn't even be having a conversation. If we didn't know basketball, we would not be having this GOAT conversation. Because we'll all just automatically default to Jordan's the GOAT. When we know the conversation ain't cut and dry no more. It's not cut and dry no more. This man's got the longevity of Kareem, the scoring ability of, we can't have an argument, he's the greatest scorer of all time. Because that's the same that we were saying about Kareem when he had the accolade. So he's got the longevity of essentially a Dirk Nowitzki, or even better, a Vince Carter, who played 22 seasons. He's got the scoring ability of the greatest to ever play this game. An argument for the greatest scorer of all time. He's one of the best passers we've also ever seen. He is one of the smartest players, if not the smartest, we've ever seen. And so it's like, yeah, there can be so much more. It's bigger than just that. And you can't just be coke so cut and dry. All these different accolades, all this different stuff, you got to have a level of, I won't call it decorum, but cutthroatness. Maybe that's the right word when discussing it. And don't be so cut-offish or cut and dry and saying there is no conversation. Because if that was the case, then we wouldn't know basketball. We just said it wasn't a conversation. We would be saying we wouldn't know basketball. And we do know ball. So there is always going to be a conversation. No question. That's a long answer. Talk to you, chat. You're right. My bad. My apologies. My bad. H-Pro, you're right. The question was given. I long-winded. It's been, again, so sorry. I was doing good all the time long. This is one of my 2 cents where I go on a tangent. I don't mean to go and demand and negate it. Absolutely. Just cut it through. LeBron's my GOAT. Plain and simple. What you got to say? My apologies. Don't want to go too long. My goodness. I think I'm trying to get better at that. My apologies. I was good all the way through. All of a sudden, this one topic was just like, we can go so many layers with it. I apologize. I'm so sorry. GOAT got to have a definition, and statistically, or games played, or rings, because stat LeBron season 22 is almost double. The GOAT conversation, like with this, is never going to be just a one-track situation. The GOAT conversation is similar to pound for pound. It's not just one thing that makes somebody pound for pound. It's not. Again, going off of your statement. It's not going to be ever just one thing. It's a multitude of things. There's a lot of stuff you take into array. Ain't just titles, ain't just accolades. It ain't just who you fought. It's all those things and more combined that make pound for pound lists, or that should make pound for pound lists. Same thing goes with the GOAT conversation, though it's in a different context. So yes, but again, I don't want to go too long. Again, talk to the chat more. Whatever you want to discuss, I'm so sorry. We'll keep the answers shorter. Absolutely. We'll change that in a heartbeat. I don't want to bore nobody. My goodness, we'll put time steps in this thing to make sure you can go and, when you get tired of it, you can go and overlook and listen to something else. No question about it. But again, we still got some time. I think we well over time for what we wanted to do for the chat, because the chat was getting good, and then I just stonewalled it. So whatever you want to discuss, please, we can discuss it more so. Absolutely. I think I've already covered some of the stuff. If you go like with Bill, if you Google NBA standings, it shows the NBA teams in the East and West standings. Yep, you're right. I looked it up, found out that Warriors and Grizzlies, East and West, like we talked about earlier. If the Warriors win tonight, they can move up over the Grizzlies. Grizzlies win tonight, they solidify their stint further into the playoff regime in the Western Conference. It's going to be very interesting. Bill thinks that they're going to get whooped in terms of the Warriors. I'm going to see if that in fact does indeed happen, or if we see the Warriors actually pull it out and show that they are indeed a big threat. They are indeed real. They are indeed ready to be a major thorn in the side of a lot of teams come this playoff tenure, if they keep their solidified playoff spot and not go into the play. But regardless of which, off the conversation of Jimmy Butler is a real dog, real threat. And the Butler is indeed a bad dude in every sense of the word. And so I'm excited for it. If the Grizzlies use their centers, they win. That's the biggest conversation. Can the Warriors overcome the lack of size that they have on their roster? They had a 7-game win streak. They were beating some good quality squads, though some people set some teams out, regardless of which it was still from what they looked like earlier in the season to what they look like right now. Completely different. And we love it. But regardless of which, if we can see them overcome the likes of Zach Edey and Jaren Jackson Jr., and pull out this game, or at least keep it close at minimum. They can lose, and if they just keep it close and competitive, that speaks volumes to what this team can actively be come playoff time. Then we're going to have some answers. It's going to be a little bit it's going to be a small piece, but an important piece to the bigger picture of the playoff scene as a whole. So this is going to be a staple game. Not just for standings, but also for competitive nature for the Warriors come to the Western Conference, or come the Western Conference when it's time to go up and put up against some of the best in the division. And so I'm excited for it. No question about it. But hey, also in the NBA, how do we feel about OKC? Do we think it's going to be a fluke with them? Do we think that this run that they have with this year, having the best record in the West, having the second best record in the NBA, though it is, as of right now, living up to all the hype that we've been saying this team has been building up to over the course of a couple years, both with SGA and with Chet Holmgren and with Lou Dort and with Jalen Williams and all the other cavalcade of players. Isaiah Hartenstein, though he's been injured off and on, but also Alex Caruso, and the quality team that they have. Is this team going to be potentially one of the bigger letdowns of this season? Because if they fall short of Or rather, let me ask this as the question. Again, OKC solid. No question about it. Absolutely. They got right now one of the 2 front runners for MVP in SGA. I think that he's second. And I think Jokic should be first. Because I'm sorry. But a 29, 13, and 29, 13, and 10 season, nearly a triple-double, if not triple-double outright, on top of where the Nuggets are at this point in time in the standings, it's hard for me to put them as he shouldn't win MVP. But that's a whole nother conversation. When it comes to OKC and everything that they've had, and everything that SGA and the whole crew is, if they don't make it to the finals, is that a failure in your mind? If they don't get to the finals this year, with how they've been looking the whole season, will that be a failure? Will that be a failure? And you say yes. You say yes. And a couple of people might also feel the same way. If they don't get to the finals, whoo. If they don't get there, it'll be a letdown. Absolutely. But I won't call it a failure for me. Now, I get absolutely why. You've been dominating this much. You've been going this long, being so incredibly head and shoulders above all the rest of the competition. Defensively, you've had statistically one of the best defenses that we've seen in the history of basketball, let alone this season. Offensively, you're one of the most well-rounded squads on the whole that this whole league has to offer. 3-point shooting, mid-range, down low in the post. You got big men. You got speed. You got strength. You have multifaceted dimensions that you can attack anybody. And everybody's a viable threat. Led by, again, SGA and a 2-headed monster in scoring in him and Chet Holmgren. You got all this stuff. And you would think that, yeah, if you didn't make the finals, what the world's wrong with you? Y'all are just a bunch of bums. Absolutely. They'll get clowned. But I wouldn't call it a full and complete failure. It's going to be OKC or the Lakers versus Boston in the final. Now, that's a whole nother conversation. But real quick, let me answer the initial thing of whether or not it'll be a failure. It wouldn't be a failure to me in totality because of the age of the team. They're also one of the youngest teams in the NBA, though they are incredibly well-rounded and diverse. Experience is a thing when it comes to this playoff regime. Now, after this season, I am wholeheartedly predicting that this team is going to get incredibly well-rounded, better than they are right now, because of the draft capital, because of free agency, and because of teams that are already looking to make moves, like with the Suns trying to move Kevin Durant. And depending on if that does happen, now that would be, okay, this is the moment. They're growing and they've grown bigger than ever. They've grown faster than we ever thought, but they're still incredibly young right now. And so if they didn't make the finals, it would be a letdown. But it wouldn't be a complete failure because this is still a young team. Experience could play a part in why they lose. But if next year, the moves that I think get made, and they then don't make the finals, now, that, for me, will be more of a concrete failure in my eyes, in my estimation. But again, just my humble opinion. But let's see. But now going to be OKC or the Lakers versus Boston in the finals. Do you really think the Lakers are going to be able to get to the finals? Really? That's even with the lack of big men that they got right now, with Jackson Hayes and Alex Len, who is not a great pickup in the slightest, what they were trying to do in the offseason. Or, excuse me, not in the offseason, in the post-trade deadline, because they were trying just to fill out anybody after getting Luka. That's a bold statement. They got a chance. Absolutely. Or they got a shot. Turned around completely in terms of the whole of this roster from what they looked like first half of the season. Or rather, they've always looked to be better than what they were last season, 2 seasons ago, under that bum Darvin Ham as coach. No question. We're so glad that JJ Redick actively was the coach that turned this whole squad around. This has been a finals level squad, competitive. But from a talent pool, it was still, they can make some noise, but I don't know about getting there. With Luka, now they can get there. But it's the problem, the same problem with them is the same problem with the Warriors. The lack of big men. Though offensively they are a whole lot better. Luka's been averaging 30 just about over these past couple weeks, roughly the first real month of his tenure. He went from scoring, 16 and 11 to scoring 24. Now, over these last, 10 to 20 games, he's been averaging 30. Like 30, 10, and 8. Looking like the Luka that we know can dominate. But it's like, even with LeBron and Luka, they still don't have a big man concretely, like with the Warriors. That can be a big problem in going into the playoffs when they want to be competitive, specifically when they go up against these other big teams, like with the Nuggets, who have been their Achilles heel, the thorn in their side, the consistent issue that won't go away. And that was with Anthony Davis on that team. Last time that they beat him, they had Anthony Davis, Dwight Howard, and JaVale McGee. Now you pair that with Jackson Hayes and Alex Len, that can spell a big problem. That can spell a huge problem. No. And again, even with Luka and LeBron on the court at the same time, it's like the roster is nearly complete, but it's still got holes that are too big to ignore. Even if you put Alex Len and Jackson Hayes on the floor at the same time, then at that point, the depth that you got when you got to set them both down from a height perspective is nothing. Now, wing defenders and athleticism, they got that. Vanderbilt, great. Rui Hachimura has gotten better defensively, though he was absolutely horrible. Still has some questions that need to be answered, no question. But they got them. You got LeBron, who at this point in time may look like the worst defender of the biggest threats or the biggest bodies. But he still can be good. And you got Gabe Vincent. Luka giving effort defensively, also averaging roughly a steal and a half, I believe, this season. Or at least since his tenure with the Lakers. Like, perimeter-wise, they got it. They got the effort, they got the hustle, they got the length, they got the drive, they got the willingness, they got the coach to bring and implement a legitimate defensive system. But it is the interior that has all concerns, especially when the game gets more physical, especially when fouls don't get called as much during playoff time, especially when size and strength can be more abused due to the added level of physical leeway that the playoffs tend to bring with refereeing and competitive fervor. That is where the Lakers can potentially go and get really put on the back burner, just like with the Golden State Warriors. And so are Luka and them going to be enough? If they are, my gosh, incredible. And even then, if they got and faced Boston, I don't think they're equipped to beat them. Because Boston right now looks to be a menace. That's a monster. That is a monster of a team. It's one of the best well put together teams we've seen throughout the tenure of the modern day of basketball. They're on pace for road wins to beat the likes or the record of the Bulls and the Warriors for most road wins in a season. What is it, like 34? They're on that track right now. They're killing it. Killing it. They just went on their own dominant winning streak. Since seemingly there were some questions that were being asked about him. Now they look back right as rain. Porzingis is back. Horford is back. Jaylen Brown cut his hair. Now he's ready for the playoffs. Jason Tatum is playing like the best player on the Boston Celtics in a dominant fashion. If he keeps this up in the playoffs as well and not shrink like he did in the Eastern Conference Finals and in the finals, though they won, he didn't play nearly up to the level that you normally do. That's going to be a monster of a squad. And yeah, Boston is unstoppable. Boston's incredible. Boston's stupendous. Boston's ridiculous. Boston is a Frankenstein of a team in terms of everything that you want. They got small big men that can play big. They got big men that can shoot and stretch the floor in Porzingis and in the likes of Al Horford. You got a dynamic duo in Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, each of which can play up to the level of the best player on the team when one is lacking. You have Jaylen Brown, not Jaylen Brown, June Holiday and Derek White. And you got, who's the other brother? The white dude that can dribble and shoot incredibly well. What's his name? Off the bench. Him and Derek White had like 30. What was his name? No, excuse me. Him and Derek White had like 40 in the same game. What the word is that brother's name? Shoot. He's a great shooter. Great handle. One of the hardest people to guard in the league, which is why, as said by June Holiday, Peyton Pritchard, that's what it was. Peyton Pritchard. That's what I was thinking of. Peyton Pritchard. And like the whole roster is filled with legitimate great assets that are interchangeable. Even if the depth doesn't seem to pop out at you, like with the likes of Sam Hauser, Luke Cornett, Torrey Craig, it still ain't bad. You put any of them up with the roster, with the first 7 or 8, subbing them out, they still look dominant. Don't forget you got Xavier Tillman, who was playing well for Memphis before he came to Boston. His performance with Memphis in that whole Lakers series was one of the reasons why he got put on the squad in Boston, because he can elevate his level of play in the playoffs when times seemingly are called for it. You could see him play a big factor. You could see Torrey Craig play a legitimate role, bench playing factor. Luke Cornett can play a factor as a shooting big man. I believe as a shooting big man, unless I've got his archetype wrong. They are, and was it Joe Mazzulla as the coach? He's a psychopath. As a coach, he's a psychopath. He is an absolute psychopath when it comes to coaching basketball. It's ridiculous. Like he is unhinged in the best way possible. He is unhinged in Joe Mazzulla. They got everything you would want. Everything, no question about it. They look unstoppable. They are indeed incredible, and I'm excited for it. But the biggest op is going to be ultimately Cleveland. And honestly, when it comes to Cleveland, can Cleveland stand up to the what you can call newfound expectations of greatness that they haven't seen since the post-LeBron era? They haven't been this dominant since, again, LeBron and Shaquille O'Neal, an old Shaquille O'Neal, a rundown Shaquille O'Neal, won 60 wins in Cleveland. They have not been a 60-win team of this caliber since then. The expectation is you are one of the favorites to get to the finals. Can you hold it? To a degree, some people would say no, because they're built in some people's eyes like the Atlanta Hawks. Years ago, one of the best teams in the East, had multiple All-Stars this year. You had Donovan Mitchell, Garland, Donovan Mitchell, Evan Mobley, I think a third brother. It was either Garland or Jarrett. Also got All-Star nods, but it could have been all four. Genuine with how they were playing. It could be like they're built similar to that. Can you actually make a chemistry-driven squad go deep in the playoffs? Or is it going to be a replay of what we saw with LeBron in Atlanta, where he just ran through them? And will that even happen to where when they get to another team that is in Boston, they fall flat and fall short? That's where the questions lie. That's going to be incredible to see. They already got 60 wins. They've already got the best record in the NBA outright. But it's still going to be a real topic of discussion to make everybody believe that this team is really as good as we think that that this team is really as good as we perceive them to be with what they're showing throughout the year. Don't make this a fluke. Don't make the regular season a farce for what you actually are as a squad when it comes down time for the most important aspect of the year. which is the run to the playoffs. Because if that happens, my gosh, it's going to be a lot of stuff to say. It's going to be a lot of stuff to say about the team. But with all that being said, I think that about wraps up what we got for this show. And I think it's time to go, show. I think we've done about everything that we can do. So with all that being said, ladies and gentlemen, this has been another episode of The Watchable with me, Jean-Louis Welch, right here on YouTube and every podcasting platform imaginable. This is going to be uploaded right after this ends on YouTube. Once we end the stream, we appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for coming in and tuning into the show. And again, Boston versus Cleveland, epic. It will be epic if they get and meet each other. It's going to be an epic matchup that we can't wait to see that happen in the playoffs. But again, we'll talk about that more later on come Thursday. We will make sure that this don't happen again with issues on the stream. We're going to start at 12:30 like we normally do on this show. But we're going to make sure everything's fixed. Apologies for starting late. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for listening. Rate us 5 stars on every podcasting platform. Like the stream before you leave. Share the show with everybody that you know. I'm Jean-Luc Welch. Y'all have been wonderful. Peace and love. We are out of here. Yes, sir. We will see you all next week. Or not next week. Excuse me. We'll see you all on Thursday. And we're going to get out of here. Absolutely. Thoughts on boxing? Again, I think I covered boxing. Just about most of the show was boxing earlier at the top. So you can go back and watch it and listen to it. I'll say boxing's great. Boxing's in a great place. Boxing as a whole is recovering from the world of the Mayweather era and turning into everybody's now starting to get in the ring with people that they want to get, that they should be fighting, which is exactly what the fans want to see. And if that keeps on going, this sport will only grow more and more and more, which is exactly what we want. Because when boxing's at its best, it's just about better than the rest, genuinely. Because there ain't nothing like a boxing spectacle. The more we get of them, the better the sport will be. No question. You should go live during the Memphis game. I won't be able to because I got some stuff I got to do, sadly. And so I won't be able to go live for that. But I want to. I would love to. But I won't be able to because I got some stuff I got to take care of. And normally for our lives, we do lives for live boxing commentary. Normally for this channel because that's what the audience normally wants. And so I got to feed the masses what they come to see. You get what I'm saying? But for tonight's game, I won't be able to live stream because while watching that, I got some other stuff I got to take care of. And so won't be able to do it. But regardless of which, we'll be back on Thursday regardless. We're going to be here at the actual time of 12:30. So be here, be excited, get ready to talk boxing and so much more. And hey, can't wait to see you all then. Catch you on Thursday. Be safe, be blessed, have a great time. Thank you for showing up, genuinely. We appreciate you and everybody coming through. And enjoy your afternoon. We out of here.